Hey everybody, what's up? So tonight I have two guests. One of them's here already, and they're Chance from Wolfworks, and then Cody from 3D Fused will be showing up shortly, I believe. Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and add Cody into the stream. Hey Cody, how are you doing? I'm sorry, Chance. I was just talking Cody about 3D Fused. Chance from Wolfworks 3D. Sorry about that.
Yeah, how you doing?
So I will start off. Go ahead and do a little intro. Let us know what you're about.
Pretty much right now we primarily sell FiberLogic 3D printer filament. We import it from Poland as their exclusive North American retailer. But the end goal is kind of to provide products that are good. You know what I mean? Like I really want to carry things like 3D Gloop and Magic Goo, that kind of stuff. You know, products that get it on, it works. Your prints are going to come out good, just like the filament does that I have now. You know what I mean? Really kind of funny how I ended up even coming across it, deciding to get it into the business. I just got samples from them and couldn't find a retailer in North America, and just was like, hey, let's fix that. So it's a real new business. I'm not a big name. Just getting into it. It's been about a year that I've been doing this. So that's Wolfworks 3D right now as it is. But we're looking to do more, a lot more, as a matter of fact.
Awesome. So how did you get into 3D printing initially?
Well, I was working for let's just say an unnamed cable provider, one of the bigger ones, and just couldn't take it anymore, man. I was sitting on the phone selling cable, and around Christmas we were doing Secret Santa, and somebody got me a Lego Star Wars thing, and I'm sitting there building that, next couple days because it's just boring on the phones. It's monotonous. And I realized that I needed to get back in touch with my roots of building things, computers, that kind of stuff. And so that led me to start building a robot that I started going to Micro Center, picking up parts for. And then it came to the point where I needed a part that didn't exist because I had to design the chassis for a mount for a servo on a LiDAR that I was trying to mock up. And well, I never even finished that part because then I got into 3D printing.
It sounds like an exact similar story for me because when I got into it, whole reason I got my first 3D printers because I was designing a robotic dragon, and I did it in popsicle sticks at first, just to like a concept. And then I got into 3D printing to do the robot and do the parts for it. And a year and a half later, I still have not done it.
I've still got it sitting back here with the Arduino. And see that it started as a project less about robotics and more wanting to get back into electronics in general, trying to do soldering and repair because I had actually initially been tinkering with some headphones that I was modding to get like the right sound balance. T50RP, they're magnetic planar driver headphones that you can get for cheaper than usual. You know what I mean? They're like 150 instead of whatever good ones cost. And you can take them apart and put like padding and fluff or whatever in there, and then put like certain I used medical tape. It's like that 3M medical tape that has it's like porous. You put that across the back of the driver, and you can actually modulate the frequency that comes out in different ways to get like a good flat response out of them. And there's a big community around it. And another one of the reasons I wanted to get into 3D printing and still haven't done anything with it yet is actually to try different materials for the cups, different shapes and things like that, even for headphone mods and stuff like that too.
Right.
So yeah, it was more about getting into the soldering, at first, and then it just kind of took off from there.
Yeah,
ADD,
I'm a
man.
pro at soldering it, as my viewers can attest.
Oh
I'm an
yeah, I see.
absolute pro at soldering. So
But yeah, that man, I wish I had a camera or something I'd show you, but microcontrollers, soldering those on by hand, dude. Man, I've only done it twice, and it's a skill that I don't have yet, and that I respect a lot more now that I've tried.
yeah, the first time I really started soldering something was my July UFO project, the UFO lamp, and it took me 3 hours. But there were 30 resistors and 30 LED lights, and but it took me 3 hours. And then I found out from people who had been soldering for years that it took them about 3 hours too. But I guarantee that their solder points were a lot
Cleaner,
prettier than mine.
Yeah. Without the circuit board being burned and stuff like that.
Right.
Oh,
so
yeah.
let's see who we got in chat. Brian Vines, Tanny, 3D Tanny, 3D Print Viking, Vince. Who am I missing? Robert Valine, The Llama, Winamp. It really whoops the llama's ass.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard that in a while. And you know what? Hold on. I still have that on my toolbar. And
Do you really?
Yeah. I've been streaming things through Tidal for so long that I haven't even accessed my local library in forever. I literally could open it up and it would probably yell that in my ear right now.
It probably would. Chris Freeze, Chris Gulata, Jordan, Mad Monkey, Techie Dad, Kit. Welcome everybody. So does anybody have any questions for Chance at Wolfworks 3D? I know I have one person, he's not here right now, Sean. One question he would ask: do you do any kind of STEM or library or school supporting either discounts or donation filaments?
I actually would be really interested in connecting with schools more. I have sort of talked to more of the students that worked with the lab at OSU here locally. Not really gotten formally introduced or talked to the schools and such, but I would actually be excited to do that because, for example, OSU is using MakerBot filament of all things.
Right.
Oh, so it's exactly. So there's probably a lot of opportunities for me to help the schools with a quality material that isn't. Let's not even get into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, no, I if anybody is affiliated with schools or educational programs, that's right up the alley of kind of what I want to do, because really the business as a whole is supposed to be a platform for me to drive kind of multi-material engineering and education about how you can take 3D printing to a level that's not just aesthetic. You know what I mean? How you utilize it for education, or utilize it for real manufacturing, or even for things that just you can't make with a regular injection molded process. Have you seen that Veritasium video about the compliant mechanisms?
No.
So they did a really cool video that kind of helped sort out my thoughts about what I wanted, because it was kind of showing me exactly what I was thinking, but somebody had already sort of done the hard part over at the universities that he went to visit and talked to the professor and all that. But compliant mechanisms are basically single mechanisms that have functionality akin to what you would have out of a couple different ones. You have springs and clips and things like that. So their example was like a pliers that was one piece and it's printed. You can actually find it on Thingiverse if you search compliant mechanisms. You'll see a couple. BYU, I think, is the university.
Okay.
And they're really cool because you can then make something that's one piece and has a function. Now, with
Right.
3D printing and multi-material engineering, you can take that and say, well, I want the handle to be printed in this material. I want the part that bends to be printed in a different material. I want the part that grips to be printed in nylon because that's going to be, durable against the actual wrenching force or whatever, so that you have a object that, yeah, it's a compliant mechanism. Yeah, it's one piece, but it's still
Right.
different parts, different materials.
Right.
And I just see a lot of potential for that down the road. That I love where we're going with all these tool changers that are coming out, the
Now,
E3, the Diabase, and all that.
as
So,
far as printing tools and stuff like a wrench or whatnot, do you think desktop homebrew tinkerers, like the majority of people who I interact with, um, can actually do those functional
absolutely,
prints from home in a strong enough filament without using super high temps?
absolutely. You have a lot of people that are doing things with PETG. It's my personal favorite. It's a good, strong material that's got a lot of like wear resistance. You know what I mean? It's real good if you're going to be using it and that kind of thing. But we actually got something recently in stock that it's called Impact PLA, and it prints at about 235, but it's a PLA, and it has a higher impact strength than ABS does by up to about 50%. And
I just happen to have a couple colors right here.
yep, this
Impact
stuff's really
PLA.
this stuff's
Oh,
really cool.
so
I
that's
made a
still in the
wrench out of
packet.
it, and I was literally smacking it against the metal shelf trying to shatter it, and it wouldn't break. Like,
Nice.
yeah, so this stuff is really cool, and again, right up the alley of what I'm personally trying to build the business into, which is making 3D printing a part. I love the idea of that next industrial revolution. Everybody being a part of it and not having a centralized set of manufacturing points. I love maker spaces and just the idea of people doing and creating things. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, no, and this material is perfect for people that want to try and start making things, but don't have all metal hot ends, for example, that can't go up past 245. You don't have to
Right.
do this. You know what I mean? You don't have to go up that hot. It does require a heated bed. It does require a little hotter than normal PLA, but
Yeah, I was noticing you mentioned 235. Is that what temp you recommend? The sticker on it, I believe, says 220 to 245.
yep, about 235 is what I was doing, but that was with a good strong fan. I might drop that down if I was on a different printer that didn't have a nice cooling setup or something.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd say about 230, 235, 225. I'm sure works. It's just a matter of your machine, I suppose. So
Now, 3D Tanny wants to know where you're located.
I'm actually out of Columbus, Ohio. So Midwest, middle of the USA.
And Mad Monkey, I know, is from Canada. What's your shipping like to Canada?
So we do have it restricted on our website to the contiguous US because I want to offer $10 flat rate shipping, since the platform I'm using, Squarespace, just has a couple of restrictions on how I can't link the API in to get the right shipping amount to the person on the front end and show them how much
Yeah,
properly.
that's why I
So
went self-hosted.
yeah.
We've talked about this before.
So with anybody that's interested, that's from Canada or Puerto Rico or Mexico, even Hawaii and Alaska, if you're willing to pay the even higher shipping out there. Any of those places, though, I would be happy to, if you want to contact me via email, chance.short@wolfworks3d.com. And I can give you a shipping quote.
And where else can everybody find you at?
Wolfworks3d.com is the website. You can also find us on social media. We've got Instagram and Twitter. Twitter a little bit less frequently, but Instagram we post just the things that I've been tinkering with, mostly the new diabase machine that I've been calibrating and doing multi-material prints with to show off how you can use the variety of materials together and so forth.
Right. Welcome, RC and Sean Butler. Sean, I knew you'd probably ask, so I already asked before you were here. You want to contact Chance at Wolfworks about your STEM program at the libraries, go ahead and do so. He's definitely interested in working something out. Welcome the other Brian with the Y. Hey, Matt, Jake from State Farm. Chris Free says Twitter more.
All right. I mean, to be honest, I need to, because I've really been again, as a small business, it's hard finding where to go to meet your customers, to meet people interested in interacting with you, because you go to some groups and then everybody assumes that you're just trying to pitch your material, and you're like, no, I'm just trying to tell you a cool technique you can use.
Right.
Or
yeah, my first year I did strictly Twitter and then a little bit of Instagram, and then I had a guy create a Facebook page for my company because I don't use Facebook, and so anything I post to Twitter, he reposts to Facebook for me, and then 3D Print Viking told me over the weekend last week that I need to get on Instagram too. So it's I know, being a small company, it's hard to pick and choose and keep up with everything.
Right. Because then what are you going to do? Just sit on your phone all day and tweet and post pictures? Like, I mean, I'd love to do that,
Right.
But I don't know. But and the thing is, though, is that the more that I do that, the more I end up meeting other people who have projects that they want to get involved with me with, that then take away from the time that I can be on there to meet other people to do those. It's weird. It's like I want to dedicate more time, but then dedicating more time results in not being able to dedicate as much time.
Exactly. It's definitely a tough balance.
Yeah. But
I actually had somebody tell me the other day, because they were mad that the UFOs went out late because I was waiting for a filament. And the guy was like, well, maybe if you stream less and work on samples more, you'd get them out on time. And I was like, I do samples while I'm streaming when they're actually here to do.
I just recently put sample packs up on my website because it was just such a pain to make them, and I didn't want to do that. But it's been good because people do want to be able to try out the stuff, and I really appreciate the stuff you do with your subscription box. Like, and getting another opportunity to be in it is a huge help. And
well, I think you've been. This is going to be your spoiler alert, guys. This is going to be your third month in the box, I believe.
Yeah.
And so that's
not Godzilla. Did Mothra
down? Godzilla down. What's that?
I said, did Mothra come out of nowhere and knock him over?
Well, this table's not very secure, so the vibrations while I'm printing it, and then the curve of the Wolfworks or the
fiber logic,
yeah, the UFO shaped spools didn't help much.
I get
that's one of the things I love about it.
Some people are like, it's like an egg shape. Some people are like, it's like a UFO. Other people are just like, I hate it. I'm like, well, okay.
Why would anybody hate it? It's like the coolest tool out there.
Some machines it doesn't fit into because it's wider, just slightly wider. But personally, I've found it easier to grab and to remove.
It can't be much wider than where I know I have one somewhere. Because
I'm talking about the little black or plastic little spools that people are used to.
Yeah.
It's a little.
Well, I mean,
little,
like, trying to think. Filament One, their spools are wider than a lot of people's.
Mhm.
They're actually wider than the Fibrology, maybe.
Maybe.
Yours
And
curves
that's
out just slightly more, but they're both wide spools. So.
and that's one thing too. That's why I want to try to keep that $10 shipping, is because it is a slightly heavier spool that I don't want people paying just extra shipping because it's a heavier actual thing. But you are getting a little more filament. A lot of manufacturers, you get about 700 on most of our spools. You get 800 grams of actual filament.
Okay. Sean, I did not see it. I had them playing in the background, but I wasn't actually watching. Hey Corey, welcome. Liquid Earth 3D.
If you want to go a little different direction from the business specifically, anybody have any questions about like multi-material printing, playing around with things like dissolvable supports and all that kind of stuff? I've been doing a good bit of experimenting since that diabase machine came in earlier this year.
RC has a question that you could probably answer because I haven't messed with CF nylon yet, but do you know if it's as hygroscopic as the others?
Absolutely. Now there is we just got RCF nylon in. We use a PA12 base, which is less hygroscopic than what you're normally going to experience. So while I would recommend keeping it dry, you don't have to dry it before every print. It's not nearly as bad, and a lot of other nylons are very, very susceptible to that. So if you're looking for a nylon base, look for something that's PA12, and that'll be a little bit less hygroscopic. But CF doesn't really change the fact that nylon's gonna wick up the moisture itself. Yeah.
Let's see. Greg Maker's Corner. How about TPU? Obviously, favorite brand for you is going to be Fibrology.
Oh,
and yeah. Greg, you probably weren't a subscriber then, but I believe it was in the February UFO we had actually Fibrology TPU.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the cool thing about the Fibrology is that it comes in two different harnesses. They are European, so they use Shore D instead of Shore A, which you're used to. So it's going to be 30 and 40D, which is a little more rigid, but it's very, very easy to print. Like, I've printed it on a stock Prusa before, just stuck it in there and gone with it.
Right.
I tried it again, and then it did feed out the side, but it works. It's just a matter of, you don't have to necessarily modify the machine to get it to work all the time. And it prints faster. I've gotten it to print up to 60 or 80 millimeters per second.
Wow.
Flexible. Yes.
Wow.
Now, here's the trick, though. I'm not going to try to make the claim that was the filament like in its entirety. It was also the extruder, because the Flexion extruder by Diabase Engineering is a beast. If you're doing anything with TPU, I highly recommend checking out their extruder. It makes printing any flexible cake, but yeah.
Greg, it's the Fibrology that you can get from Wolfworks 3D. He's the only supplier in the U.S. for that brand of filament. And this was In the February UFO.
But yeah, I actually accidentally loaded it in with PETG settings once and printed it at 80 millimeters per
And it
second
worked,
at
huh?
135 degrees, and it actually printed. Like, I was like, what is going on? I'm just gonna let it go until it starts messing up and see what happens.
Liquid Dirt wants to know, what was that extruder you just mentioned?
The Flexion, it's a
Flexion.
it's made by Diabase, and it's a real simple mechanism, but it's got like a cam screw on it, so you can actually tighten up and adjust depending on the material you're using, the tension that you put on the filament. Mm-hmm. So it's very, very good for things that are going to have a variety of hardnesses like TPU does. You know what I mean? PLA, you can pretty much just stick into anything and it goes. TPU, each one's kind of different depending on the brand.
Yeah. Oops. Jake from State Farm says he's printing with fiberology right now. That he got in the UFO Mothership Prize.
The sparkly blue stuff. Was the Aurora?
I think it was the Aurora. The Aurora was the blue, right?
Yeah. That stuff I really do like. I would recommend using a little bit bigger nozzle since it's the glitter flaky kind of.
I never had a problem with it with the 0.4.
Yeah, see, I do, just because it's says on there on the material sheet to 0.5 recommended. But I haven't really encountered that much of an issue with it either, personally. So, how is it going, by the way? Are you? Do you have anything cool that you made with it?
Me?
No. What was it?
Was it Jake from State Farm?
Yeah.
Matt. What are you making with it, Matt?
Is there any way I can see chat?
I pop it out.
Go to YouTube.
Yeah, I go to YouTube and I pop it out, and then I close the video and just have chat up on a different screen. FlexionExtruder.com. Thank you for that, RC. Oh, he's printing the Lady of the Lake from Juka.
From Juka?
Well, he goes by Juka.
Artist?
Yeah, the artist who actually designed it.
So, like Excalibur kind of being handed to Arthur, kind of Lady of the Lake? Or is it I don't know, I kind of want to see this. Got a link to the artist? Always love showing off the artist.
I will link it in chat. It's actually really cool. I'll put it in our private chat. And also in YouTube chat. And hell, I'll DM it to you too.
Might as well send me a link to the stream as well.
The YouTube stream?
So I can pop out chat.
Let's see. I don't know if this will actually work, but I'll send it.
You know, because searching anything aliens on YouTube doesn't necessarily. Oddly enough, it was Alien 3D is mostly stuff about your subscription box, which is great.
Catch you late, John. Yeah. Jordan, have a good dinner, man. But yeah, Juka's a really awesome designer. I love his designs.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Brian wants to know, is it chemical resistant to oils or petroleum? What exactly, Brian?
Yeah, what is it? because PLA, no. PETG, yes. ABS, meh. TPU, yes.
TPU's
Nylon.
chemical resistant?
So our FiberFlex 40 and 30D actually have our technical data sheets that we've got linked on the website have a really nice list of the resistances with their ratings, like excellent, good, so forth. So, in most cases, it's actually fairly resistant to anything other than highly oxidizing agents. So, anything else pretty much wouldn't be able to hold.
Gotcha.
Matter of fact, had somebody that wanted to use, it's a de-icing agent, and I couldn't remember what it was. Man, what happened was it was unfortunate. They couldn't use our material because it didn't list the one they had, but
Right.
it listed the more caustic one and had an excellent resistance against that. It just didn't list the same, less caustic variant of that chemical, even though it would have the same kind of resistance. So they couldn't use it, but it was
That's weird.
some sort of de-icing agent that is the same kind of thing they use on planes, on the wings and stuff. Apparently,
Right.
they're trying to figure out something. I don't know, but yeah. I mean, for the most part,
Liquid Dirt says Kynar is great for oils or chemicals. I have no idea what Kynar is. Yeah, it's with my nature of business, I know a lot of obviously a lot of I think over the last year I've had close to 60 different companies in my UFO boxes. Of course, mostly all PETG and PLA. The exotic stuff is getting out of budget, but I'm working on getting some cool stuff in.
if you ever want to get that easy pet G in there, let me know.
Well, that I will definitely do. There's numerous months ahead of us.
I had no idea what they were going to do when I got this material, because I had the same question. All of my other customers that had gotten the pet G had, it's like, what is easier than that? Like, how do you, because it's a really good pet G already. I'm
Right.
sure people in the chat have, were subscribed back in, what was it, January or whatever, I think.
Yeah, I think it was December, January, and February. I think you were in the box, weren't you? Or was it just January and February?
I think.
I'd have to go back and look.
But yeah, I was surprised. It doesn't. I don't know.
So explain for the people in chat what's the difference in the Pet G and the Easy Pet G.
It just doesn't burn as easily, for one. So when you have parts that are like, you want to do like low layer heights and things like that, I've had better results with it. It's less boogering, and it just seems to extrude a little more consistently. And I mean, I love Pet G in general, to be honest. It's my favorite material. It's what I started with, because everybody was like, oh, it's PLA. And then I saw the Pet G at Micro Center, and it was clear and shiny. And I was just like, I want that. And went with it. And so, of course, there was some difficulties beginning with Pet G. But I don't know, man. It's come out clearer as well with some of my translucent prints, which is interesting. Like, I've been able to get a nicer, like, thin wall translucency out of it.
Pet G is always like, when I first started, I was PLA, and then I got my first Pet G, and I was like, I'm never going back. Yeah. Obviously, I have to, but
you end up finding certain situations where, like, well, maybe I don't need to do Pet G. I'm really just doing something that's aesthetic. And
right.
But anything that's you know, mechanical, let's say, anything that's going to have mechanical accuracy or moving parts, well, PETG all the way. Unless it needs nylon or whatever extreme, PETG is a easy choice. Yeah. Yeah. Sean, actually, so have you ever heard of what is it? Was it fracking? If you have Instagram, Sean, looking at the chat, sorry. There's a guy that makes these shroom saver little reef growing things that he uses fragging. Yeah. He uses our PETG for that. He actually specifically for his reef to grow a variety of different little corals and such in there.
Right. Hey, babe, about time you showed up.
Yeah, check his out. Check Shroom Saver. Here, let me check that out. They're pretty cool.
A shroom saver.
Yep. If you're interested in reefing, which I'm sure a very small percentage of people here are going to even
Well, Liquidirt, he grows plants as one of his businesses, so he may be interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
My phone is on mute except for you. But I've got you pulled up so your ringtone's not going to go off. You spend more money on reefing than on 3D printing. I hope that is saltwater reefing.
I was going to say, I can see it. I could really see it because I really want to get into it, and I looked at it, and it's like, ooh, that's going to take me a while. You know what I mean? Just to even start, because you have to, if you want to invest in it properly, and you want to reef, and you want to get a big aquarium first, you know what I mean? You don't want to. I don't know. You have all these other tools. You have to flush the water every couple of days or like a week and a half or whatever, I think. And just, oh man, it looks like so much work, but it looks so rewarding. I love the colors. Just there's nothing that else in it quite like underwater creatures colors. You know what I mean? Nothing. Matter of fact, I think the first purple was made from like crushed sea snails or something like that. Really? 4 months? I don't know, man. I'm not an expert. I just talked to a couple people who do it, and they're like, you would have to change it every 10 days or whatever, or 2 weeks or something. And I don't know. You must have a pretty sick setup, though, if you spend more on it than 3D printing.
Right, Cody sent me over his logo. I'm going to add him real quick to this overlay.
So 3D Tanny, PLA is biodegradable. I'm not sure on the exact distance or distance length of time that it takes, but it breaks down much faster than it takes to actually fully biodegrade. So if you leave it outside, yeah, exactly, the UV that you're going to have exposing it outside is going to cause it to break down a lot faster. Even ABS actually is UV reactive and will break down in direct sunlight, though it's much slower, and it's more of a color thing than a actual biodegradable.
Right.
A pie-based reef tank controller system. That sounds pretty cool.
Sorry, I'm not paying attention to chat for a second while I get this new overlay in.
Oh yeah, the 200 character limit on your treaties for the biodegradability of PLA and your thesis on it. I'm sure. I'd love to hear it actually, to be honest, because I'm all about recycling, and I try to throw away as little as I can. And there's, matter of fact, there's a really great company that does this big box. You just get a box from them, and then you send them all of your parts and all of your failed 3D prints and everything, and they recycle it for you. Let me see if I can find this.
Was that shoot, I can't even remember them now.
If you guys have time, check that out. It's really cool.
Filabot, yeah. Well, Filabot is also open source, isn't it? Aren't they one of them that are open source? You can actually build the parts. Can't remember if that was Filabot or...
I don't know. That was, I think they're the one that's that really big, huge machine, right? The one that's like, it's like multiple parts.
I know it's 10 grand for the full system, but that's the extruder, the air cooler, and the winder.
Yeah.
Extruder. Yeah, I think that's the one that's open source.
Yeah, the extruder doesn't work quite nearly as well as this does. I've seen a lot of people try and get that to be consistent, and it just doesn't. I mean, it works. You can get it to make printable plastic out of, your excess parts. And I'm sure as it grows, just like all of the, open source technology that we're all using with 3D printing, it'll get better. And I really hope it does, because I can't wait until you can at home shred your prints and then throw them back into another, filament. But
I was looking in for extruder lines and stuff, and because I really, really, really want to experiment with filament colors and do weird things. So I was looking into options, and there's a lot of open source things. Like there's this guy who created one that you manually crank, and then he also did another version. He won a
diameter consistency you get from hand cranking,
right? Right, but he won a contest for it, for designing an extruder for under $500 or something like that.
That's pretty cool.
And then he did another version that was had a motor and was more mechanical and stuff. So
see, what I'm really kind of interested in is almost okay. So this is a bit out there, but something that we kind of quickly touched upon when I was out in Colorado with Diabase would be like potential for putting like a screw feed hopper and just having your shredded chips directly fed into the hot end.
Well, I know on Community Catch-Up last week, they were showing off somebody. It had a hopper on top of the extruder, and you just dropped in the pellets and the blended up failed prints and everything, and it was extruding directly from the hopper.
Yeah.
So I'll have to find that link.
That's kind of the idea that we were talking about. Basically, just have your shredded bits of whatever plastic and melt it in through not just the heat, but also the pressure from the screw feed.
Right.
That it would be, forcing it down in there, and then using that to do some interesting printing, or at least to make like stock for milling off of and things like that.
3D Tanny wants to know what inspired the name Wolfworks.
Embarrassing childhood story time. So I used to eat my food really fast, and so my aunt would call me Wolfie, and so I just always liked wolves, and it was kind of inspired by just the idea of, I don't know, just my thought, if you've ever played video games before, there's always like that one crazy race that has those weird forges and things like that. And Wolfworks always just sounded kind of like one of those places,
Yeah.
So it all just, I just thought about it, and it just kind of worked. And I was like, that's a cool name, I guess. I like it. It's got a little bit of meaning behind it for me. And I don't know.
Chris Gulata, I already know the answer to this, but he wants to know, does Wolfworks make any filament? And I'm going to add, why not, and do you plan on it?
So no, we don't manufacture it ourselves. We import it from Fiberlogy directly out of Poland. That specifically being because really the products that I want to build our business off of, I want to be consistent, really good products that you're never going to have to question, what comes out of it. And if I was to make filament here, as much as I would love to, I don't think that I'd be able to meet that kind of consistency. And it really does get expensive to actually make a product on scale of that quality. You know what I mean?
Right.
So no, I don't plan on it, but I have a really good relationship directly with Fiberlogy. And so, I color recommendations, things like that I discuss with them, may end up being produced as well. But yeah, I do plan on adding things besides filament. Like I reached out to Magicu, I believe. I don't think I heard back from them. Things like that, like
I'll talk.
Magicu, and
Remind me later. We could talk about Magigoo after the stream.
Because they're a product that I really have found useful myself, and that's kind of what I'm going for. Is anything I sell on here, I want to be something that I can consistently use. It's consumables, things like that, hot ends and extruders for different machines if they end up wanting me to sell their products. But things like the Flexion, where it's, hey, here's a thing that's going to make your machine work.
Right.
That's really what I'm going for. Consistency, reproducibility, things that you a lot of times don't get from some 3D printing manufacturers. You know what I mean?
Right.
So trying to take that opposite direction.
Sean Butler wants to know, does Fiberlogy do bigger spools than just 1K?
I've got 2.5 kilogram spools of PLA, but limited supply in those because they haven't been very popular. I've also spoken with them about doing larger spools for the flexibles. So we have the option, and in the future, if there's a lot of interest in larger spools, it's definitely something that we would be doing. For now, it's just PLA.
Steven, it has been in 2, possibly 3 UFOs already, and I'm just saying, spoiler, September. Yeah, Jake from State Farm, and you mentioned this actually earlier. You said there's around 800 to 850 G
Yep.
on the spools. Do they are they advertised as 1 kilogram spools though?
No, I mean it's just I don't necessarily advertise them as any weight I put on the website, what the weight is. They are 1 kilogram spools. You're by kind of industry standard. When you buy most spools from most manufacturers, it will actually say 1 kilogram and then 700, 750, whatever net. And so when I say it's 800 grams, it's the net weight of filament you're actually receiving. Not
that's something I have to consider when I'm doing the UFOs, because there's been times where it's advertised 1 kilogram and then I get it and I end up being short because it's actually not a whole.
Exactly. That's why. So I just put, on the site, here's each one is 800 grams, 750, whatever. I think it's 700 for the wood filament, and it might be 500 for the CF nylon. But those are all marked on the website in the description. But as far as generally goes, I just try to avoid that 1 kilogram spool kind of you know what I mean?
Terminology, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Carl.
I'd rather just talk about net weight.
Welcome back, babe. Where's my food? My goodness.
Yeah, Jake, I might be wrong. It might be 850. Let me take a look.
And I forgot about that when I was ordering from you for this month, so I may have to do an emergency order of one or two more spools.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm sorry.
No,
It is 0.85 kilograms net weight. Yep. For Impact PLA, Easy PLA. Let's see. Yep. Fiberflex, all of them. Yeah. So 850. I'm sorry. It's more than I thought it was. It's 850, not 800.
Yeah, Sean Butler, I saw the picture you sent me, and at first I couldn't see what exactly the fail was, but then I looked at it. Yeah, that's. Did you not tighten down your heat break? Because that's a lot of oozing between the heat break and the heat block. Lightspeed, this is actually a good question, and it's something I've also asked Chance about. The photos on your site. He says one thing that has turned him off from buying is because the photos are just the thumbnails of the close-ups. Do you plan on getting better photos of the filaments you're selling?
Yeah, I'm actually about to do something about that. The thing is, I'm not the best when it comes to the artsy web design kind of side. I literally put this site together myself and just threw up the stock filament photos. And my initial design had a different background, so I had recolored the backgrounds to black. So right now, really, the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and re-upload it with all the white background pictures, so at least they look better. But as far as actual like images, I'd like to. I want it to look good. I'd love the input on what you'd recommend.
You should tell Fiberlogy to take pictures of like the full spools, and then maybe do some test prints and photo the test prints. You're more than welcome to use my alien.
Yeah,
and put those up, because I know a lot. I got some feedback on my filament that I sell, the probed, saying that the photo didn't do it justice. So I printed out some things.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a couple people print stuff, and then I've mostly shared it on Instagram and things like that more than actually used them as images on the website. So maybe that's more what I should do instead of just sharing the prints and stuff.
Right. Make sure you tag whoever printed it and who designed the model.
Oh, yep.
A lot of people get mad at that.
Oh yeah, no, I'm acquaintances with Miss Diggers. I can't remember how to what the Adelinda the dragon.
That's Luby, right?
Yeah, Luby. Yeah, Luby 3D. That's what it was. I was trying to think of what her actual name was.
Greg wants to know if you have a storefront.
We don't have a official storefront, but I mean, if you are in Columbus or nearby, you can pick it up here locally. I'd happily, invoice you, and you can just stop by.
Do you have a mascot model being developed?
We just had Dez do a little 2D that you see on screen now, and I do want to take that and kind of do something with it. I was actually thinking of asking Libby 3D because she already has the wolf model that she's done. Right. I was going to ask if you wanted to maybe adapt it to something cool that we could do.
Put a wrench leaning up against it.
Yeah, something. Because I love her models because they're all very easy to print with no supports.
Standing on a gear.
Yeah, something instead of the cool little wolf plinth she had, have like a gear or whatever, something. Yeah. So definitely something I'm doing. It's just, man, when you try to do everything, some things just don't get done.
Yeah, Lightspeed. They only Wolfworks only sells filament right now, but he's planning on expanding into other things like hot ends and
other consumables initially.
Consumables and such. Yeah.
So the things like your Magic Goo and 3D glue, that's kind of stuff that you know is going to be good. That's reliable. That's really what I'm interested in having on my shop. So let's see. So should I on the site for the images?
Chris Freeze, he's on Twitter. Shows up as Inspire 3D with a Y, and he takes really good photos. He is obsessed with taking photos, and so if you want to get with him,
okay.
But I still think you should tell Fiberology to do some better marketing photos for you. Because I noticed on their website as well is just those thumbnails.
Yeah, that's all that they have a little folder they gave us, and I just used that. But mostly out of convenience more than the fact that they were either good or bad. But they do at least show off the material.
They do. They've got a good close up.
So there's a couple that I have that are just prints, but again, they're posted on the Instagram. So I guess I should maybe update the website more often than just the social media. That might be good. People might enjoy that.
No llama, nothing burning or blowing up.
Yeah, exactly. No A8s here. No.
Hey, I've got 2 A8s.
No offense to anybody with an A8. Did you put the smoke detector mod on it?
Actually, no. I did add MOSFETs to it though, and
that's the fix. That's the actual fix.
Yeah, and then I made sure that the bed was using all 6 plugs versus just 4.
Mm-hmm.
And but both my A nets are retired now.
Yeah, Steven, Lightspeed, the issue with that is I'm not as big as Filamentum. I can't send free filament to everybody.
Right.
I have tried with YouTubers, a couple people doing that, and it's been really well received. Actually, I just don't have, like you said, a mascot for them to make.
And that's one thing too. People who do already have your filament, or those who are getting samples in the UFO, hint hint. Maybe if they print something and take some nice photos, they could give you permission to use the photos in exchange for a little discount or something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll do a contest, like one of those share on Instagram and tag us, and you can win a free spool or something like that. We could do something, work something out.
Liquid Dirt 3D says you should link out to your social media accounts on your website.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, RC, my aim is Arcon Blood.
But I'm not.
Oh, are they at the bottom?
Supposed to have. Let me see. I'm actually going to go to it right now. They're super tiny at the bottom.
Well, Corey, Wolfworks actually carries filament for fibrology. Fibrology is what country are they from again?
Poland. Now we do handle the import for it in a way that would enable us to establish other
multiple storefronts.
Yeah, other people that wanted to also carry it. So if you wanted to get in touch with us, you can reach out to me here. Because that's the one thing that's actually been difficult about it is the recognition as being only one retailer that has it. It's been hard to find people that know about it, even,
Right.
And Lightspeed, yes, they do, and not in North America. You have it in Europe. There's quite a few retailers over there. I think there's a couple South American retailers too, but North America, we do handle the import for that exclusively. There was a Canadian retailer that apparently fell through, so they asked me to handle the Canadian side as well, which has been going slower than I expected. Like I said, thanks to the restrictions on Squarespace, the shipping. So, but it was good. That's why I started selling it. Yeah. Sorry for people listening and not reading chat. I'm talking to Lightspeed, and he asked what made me start selling it. I literally just asked for samples because I saw a video about I think somebody making like wheels that they can drive on water with their RC car out of the material. And
cool.
Oh yeah, I think it's actually, I have it linked on the bottom of the web page. So I just wanted to mess with it because it seemed like it was a good material. They sent me a bunch of samples, and I was blown away by the consistency, the richness of the color, ease of printing, and the strength of even down to the PLA. So the mineral PLA is almost chalk-filled kind of. It's got like a filler that makes it really. When it comes out, it almost sands like plaster does. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you can make a sculpture. No, it's not. But like you can make a sculpture or an architectural print with this, and you'll almost not see the layer lines if you do it even at like 0.2. Like it just blends together really well because of that like chalky filler. but the sanding, it's the easiest I've had anything sand, and it came out so smooth. I made a Aphrodite statue with it for a friend of mine that came out gorgeous. But it's not speckled. No, it's not marble. It's just a precision filament, is what I would say. It's a
it's funny how one company comes out with something and then as soon as it starts taking off, like 5 other companies duplicate it.
The marble PLA.
The marble just blew up.
Yep.
And the rainbow and the tricolor changing. And I'm fairly certain the tricolor changing is one brand rebranded for everybody.
I mean, who knows? Because when you import it from all over the world, it could go through any number of manufacturers after it's just the beads. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you could get the plastic itself from one place and then go to 2 different places that actually extrude the filament, for example. And Lightspeed, we do have like a speckled, glittery kind of. We got 3 or 4.
You have the Aurora, the Vertigo, and what else?
Onyx.
That's
3. Yep.
Onyx was my favorite one.
Yeah, and I've kind of fallen in love with ABS a little bit. It's one of those. I almost feel like I'm cheating on Pet G, and it's not exactly a favorite material of most people anymore. But smoothing it with the vapor, the acetone vapor, when you have Onyx or Vertigo, oh my goodness, it just makes it glitter like it's just this smooth surface with those little glitter flecks in it that pops so much more because of that vapor smoothing. And I ever since I've gotten the H series machine and it's capable of ABS printing correctly, I've been doing that primarily the past couple of months, just for the finish.
Carl, I completely agree with that because to me, marble is like the veins. It's got veining and stuff through it. And the granite's more of the speckled. And Brian Vines, you better credit Das Mia with that. She's the first person I saw call it the Vanilla Bean ice cream.
Heck yeah.
Sean Butler, that's one thing I want to do if I can ever get an extruder, is I want to do fading in and out of the same colors. And
hey, that palette from Mosaic, man, that's how you do that.
Yeah, but
I think what they're doing is really cool with the software side, because that's the real hard part about it. They've got the machine now, and then now they're doing the software where you can paint on the color onto your 3D shell and then send it through and have it do that. And as that kind of side of it grows, you're going to be able to do so much with that.
Brian Vine says his take was that marble PLA was created when somebody accidentally spilled ground pepper in the extruder. I know somebody, Alkesh One, he has a palette and he tried creating a 1 kilogram spool of a mix of colors and stuff. He said it took forever.
Well, yeah, because you basically have to feed through an entire kilogram of filament. It's not fast in any way, shape, or form. Definitely not fast. I've got the Palette Plus, which is kind of the middle child of the bunch. So it works, but not as nice as the new Palette 2. And yeah, if I was to try and make a whole spool with this, it would take ages.
Right.
But it's gorgeous though when it comes out.
I just got a message from Cody at 3D Fused. He's trying to fix his headphones.
Now, how is the MMU2? Because I have not. I've worked with the Prusa i3 machines, the Mark IIIs, and all that with a friend of mine who has a couple of them. I don't own any, and I haven't gotten to play with the MMU2 yet. So,
Brian, why have you not posted that yet? Sorry to talk over to you. So Lightspeed says the MMU2 is a nightmare. I know other people.
Now, in the way that all multi-material in any way is a nightmare, or like specifically.
Yeah, that's my issue with the MMU2. It's specifically designed for the Prusa, and if you don't have a Prusa, what are you gonna do?
Right.
Whereas the Palette 2 can work with any printer.
Exactly.
I believe.
I was actually up there. I I was going to spend the whole day up in Canada exploring Toronto, and I kind of slept in late and then ended up driving and literally getting there as the live stream was starting at Mosaic and driving back that same night. So it was like 15 hours almost of driving. Yeah, just because I was like, I don't want to pay for a hotel. I was like, they're looking around. Basically, what was happening was that it was like 2 nights before that big championship basketball game. So I was like, there's just no hotels anywhere that aren't way too expensive.
Right.
So, yeah, nothing to do but drive back.
Hey, Joe Prince, I didn't see you sneak in. Catch you later, Corey.
Brian, you haven't even messed with it yet, huh? See,
awesome,
snap fits are really cool in general. Like the Pet G is so good for making things like with the little clicky fit.
Brian, do a teaser thumbnail on Twitterverse at least. My goodness. Actually, no, don't, because ooze. I'm out of ooze until Earth. So yeah, you can wait on that. That's fine.
Brian, have you tried our filament yet? I don't know if I've.
Yeah, Brian's been my subscriber of mine from the very beginning, so he's gotten all of the Fiberology samples that I've put out.
Oh, his ooze always sells fast. I remember the first time you got some of that stuff in.
Lightspeed wants to know which colors are the difference between the Vertigo, the Onyx, and the Aurora.
So Vertigo is like your silver. It's actually a kind of a standard color if you look up Vertigo Gray. Actually, it's hard to find because everything with Vertigo ends up being part of a reference to a movie, and it's really hard to find colors to actually look up because of that. But
I think as far as like to tell the difference between your filaments that you sell.
Yeah. Vertigo is like a silvery gray. Onyx is a black, like think Onyx or Obsidian. Aurora is like a purpley blue, like the Aurora.
Maybe it was the Aurora that I really liked. I gotta find my samples of that stuff that I have left.
What am I supposed to do with a box of crayons? Melt it into the extruder?
Hey, if Chris Riley can 3D print cheese, I'm sure we can 3D print.
You can 3D print crayons. I
Crayon
guarantee
wax.
you can 3D print a crayon. I bet.
Hey,
That would be cool as heck.
so I'm gonna bring in Cody from 3D Fused as well.
All right.
What's up, guys?
Are you there, Cody?
Sean, the Vertigo would
How's it
probably
going?
be a little too dark
Yeah,
for.
You sound a
I have a
little
little
lag.
headphone issue.
Let me take a look at the picture real quick.
So, Chance, I'm gonna pull you out of it just for a minute so I can get 3D Fused to do an intro.
Go for it.
So, everybody, this is Cody from 3D Fused.
What's up, guys? It's Cody, 3D Fused.
He puts out the Creatos 3D printer, soon a Creatos Junior. I don't know what you're actually
It's like
calling
really
it.
laggy.
Yeah, your video is kind of going wonky. And then he also does rails and linear rail kits. And then he also does rails and linear rail kits. And then he also does. Hey, I'm gonna pull him back out just for a second, Tilly. Are you watching on YouTube as well, Cody?
No.
Yeah, I can hear me talking in your background. All right. Hey, I'm gonna drop Cody off just for a minute until he gets that fixed. All right, Chance, I got you back in here.
It's like when you get to the radio when you win, and you still got the radio playing in the background, and they're
right. No, he was having troubles with his headphones. He said his headphones were shot, and then it looks like he lost video.
Hey, mail them to me. I could probably fix them after tinkering with those T50 RPs as much as I did. Man, that was a fun project. If you ever want a great pair of headphones custom tuned to your own ears, look up the T50 RP modding community and the things you can do with it. Really cool pair of headphones.
So if Cody can jump back in, I'll re-add him. Like he's having some technical difficulties. Hey, catch you later, Carl. Episode 21 of the White Knight assembly video. Holy moly.
White Knight. So you're assembling a model of...
No, you haven't heard of his White Knight Infinite Z printer?
No, is that the...
It's the belt printer that's like 4 foot long, and it just
the one with the angled gantry?
Yes.
Oh, no, okay. I didn't realize that was him.
Yep, that is Carl from Neck 3D.
Yeah, that's impressive. I love machines like that.
He's doing a smaller one.
I've heard of your project, just not you. I'm sorry. I love your work. I just have no idea who you were. You know, I'm glad to meet you now. That's wonderful.
I'm gonna message Cody real quick.
Ah, see, the beard. That's what makes somebody, right? I have a shaggy bit of a beard. Not too proud of it yet.
Actually, as far as beards go, Graybeard 3D and
Yeah.
Matt Weber from would probably be a good
I've actually
competition on
got
those.
I've got his little Graybeard 3D model printed here somewhere.
Yeah, I have one that's like 200 millimeters tall that my mother was supposed to be painting, and she's had it for like 6 months.
It's such a badass little model. Like the texture in the coat is so
right.
nice, dude.
It's awesome. Hey, Robbie Mac.
Yeah,
Are you going to Earth?
I might go to Earth.
You need to go to Earth.
I was considering sponsoring it potentially, but
they ran out of tables anyways.
Yeah, exactly. I same thing happened at Murph. I figured it'd happen again here. It's just I'm kind of
Murph is like so much closer to you. You could have made that one. Jeez.
I'm gonna go still. It was more about did I want to invest in all of the table, the sponsor, the going.
Well, I tell you what, since you're the U.S. suppliers of Fiberlogy, why don't you get with them and say, hey, you want to sponsor me at one of these events so I can sell your product?
I probably should do that. I'm actually doing that in a way at a different sort of a place. It's not a 3D printing convention, but a friend of mine invited me to help run their maker space at CodeMash. And so this past January, I helped run the 3D printing area over at CodeMash at the Kalahari in Sandusky. So a whole bunch of programmers and stuff like that walking around. Businessmen. It was expensive, fancy. It's not like Murph. I felt so out of place. It was like a fancy hotel. I was like, oh man. Hey, are you? Hey, what's up? You probably know me. Yeah. The Brian Cairns. Yeah. See, we know each other apparently, and I didn't even know it. Look at that.
That's awesome. Small world.
So, I'm gonna try and get it to Earth though, for sure. Going to go to Earth because apparently I'm being commanded to.
Even if you don't have a table, which
maybe I'll just come hang out at your table. I'll just be like, hey, this is the alien dude. I'm gonna.
You are more than welcome. Aliens. More than welcome to. Unfortunately, I can't bring my 12-foot alien. They told me I wasn't allowed to do that, so I'm in the process of building a 2-foot alien version to bring with me.
All right.
And then I'll have a Creatos printer and my Alien 3D rail core there with me.
Oh yeah.
Catch you later, Carl.
Your custom rail core that you got.
Yeah, and
yeah, that looks cool. That's a nice machine. I'm definitely looking forward to checking that out. Then
Cody at 3D Fused, he's making a probed green version of the Creatos for me to sell too.
Okay. You need to get the Repcord box with the alien on it, man.
Well, I actually I don't know if Kit is back yet, but I gave one away with my logo on it for my, I believe, December mothership, and Kit won it, and it's the only one in existence.
No, Robbie, aliens don't have to have 2 feet. We're just what is it, anthropocentric or I don't know what. We're humans, okay? We assume they have 2 feet. They could have wings. That'd be pretty cool.
You know, there are definitely how you say, just like animals have different looks to them. I fully believe there are aliens out there with many different looks to them.
See, I feel like there's certain traits though that are still going to be generally formed in some way because you're going to have some way to manipulate tools. So you're going to have some sort of appendage that is
right.
that kind of basic tendency. I think will be there, but beyond that, and eyes. I think everything's going to have some sort of eyes, and something to grab things with. That's okay. If they're telepathic, we're on a whole different level now, and they're just gonna have to teach me their mind powers then.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's test Cody real quick. You good now, Cody?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I had to switch to a laptop. My normal headphones are broke. So what I ended up trying to do was using my phone, and a YouTube on my phone, so I could listen to everything with my headphones. Because Apple and their lovely
Crapple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Samsung.
So yeah, that's the only other headphones I could find, and I was like, well, what am I gonna do? So I figured I'd use my phone. But now I'm on a laptop, so here we go.
All right. Well, let me do another little intro for you. Chance, I'm gonna drop you off, and then drop me off so he can do his intro. So again, everybody, this is Cody from 3D Fused, creates the Creatos printer as well as Axis linear rail systems. And anyways, Cody, I will let you do your intro.
Yeah, so I'm Cody from 3D Fused. I obviously we do the 3D Fused X and Y Z linear rail kits. We have the Creatos printer, and we're coming out with the Mini. We will be at Earth, so you guys can check us out. If you have any questions, let me know.
Boop. I had to add me back.
And by the way, I'm like really new to this, so this is like
no,
I
it's
feel like
fine.
I'm on like chat roulette, like back in the day.
Well, it's like last week I had Snow Labs in here,
Oh my god! South
And
Park
he told-
episode of that.
Right.
yeah, he told me it was kind of weird because I didn't have questions prepared and everything. But this is more kind of a hangout, informal,
Yeah, no, I get it.
get to know
cool.
companies in a more relaxed manner.
I've done Twitch streams before. This was what that's all this feels like. Is like
Yeah,
That's more of an
Twitch
accurate.
stream with your squad.
So, does anybody have any questions for? Well, no. Let me start with my questions first. Cody, how did you get into 3D printing?
So I don't know. It's been 6 or 7 years now. Basically through college classes and also through local organizations that had 3D printers that you could go in and you could utilize them more on the professional side, the professional 3D printers. And I was very intrigued to get something at home. I've been in manufacturing for over 10 years, so designing and building assembly lines, machines to fix problems and create solutions for sorting and for all sorts of manufacturing. So it was basically really easy for me to just say, I want to do this at home in some cases. And one of the biggest, pretty much the biggest like leap for me was a guy that I knew was like, hey, let's get a 3D printer for my company. And so I designed and built one for him after already having a few of them. I had to see the Inet A8 was my very first printer. However, I never got it running.
Really? I
Yeah.
had two
So
of them.
We were making jokes about them earlier.
yeah. So the problem wasn't necessarily the fact that I couldn't get it running. It was that I realized shortly after buying it, it was not what I wanted. Basically, when I purchased the Inet A8, I had it. It was in the mail and it took like 2 weeks or something to get to me. But I bought all the hardware. I bought all the stuff to build the AM8 mod, and I basically was like, well, as soon as it gets here, I'll put it together and I'll use that to print the parts. And shortly after that, I was like, well, I might as well just buy a CR10. So then I went and bought the CR10 to print the A. And at that point, I was like, well, I'm not going to waste my time with it. So it basically is built, but not working.
Right.
So I basically taken that and just it's just on a shelf back in the storage room.
See, that's one of the cool things, man, is that all these cheap printers are enabling so many people to get into it. Like I started with the monoprice Maker Select.
Right.
These $250-ish to $500-ish printers that are bringing in thousands of new people to do this really cool industry and hobby.
Yeah, for me, it's like, after buying the CR10 and modding it to the point where it was just couldn't be modded anymore, I was just like, I have to design and build my own printer.
Yeah.
Well, that handled my next question. Why did you get into designing 3D printers?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean that's pretty much the biggest reason. I started out with the CR10 and I had a giant aluminum plate, and there's probably pictures floating around Facebook somewhere. And I basically took this huge plate and I bolted it to it, and then everyone was like, "Well, why did just make the whole 3D printer out of it?" And then that sparked the interest of making my own 3D printer. And a buddy of mine was like, "Hey, let's bring this out to my shop, and we can actually, put it inside the shop." And it was kind of in the front office as like a display area. And he had a lot of clients coming in constantly throughout the day asking like, "Hey, can I buy this 3D printer? Who made this 3D printer? Who made this 3D printer?" So we launched a site locally to be able to sell the 3D printer to people locally that were coming in, mainly industrial style clients. And then, long story short, someone on Facebook stumbled across the website and was like, next thing you know, we're selling, 5-6 printers, and it was like, holy cow, we need to get out there and actually take a more of a hobby style approach. So that introduced the linear rail kits because we wanted to get the cost of linear rails down. So,
right.
Just buying and building 3D printers, we wanted to be able to buy a bulk order linear rails. But if we're only selling a few 3D printers, we got to come up with another way to make it so more affordable for us to be able to make these printers more affordable and the kits more affordable. So,
right.
So we invented the linear rail kits and kind of just kicked off. And those have been a bigger seller than the 3D printers in themselves. But, the Mini we think is going to take a different approach because it's a lower priced, it's comparable in price to the Prusa, but has a lot more features and uses the best components, and it has a solid aluminum, substrate.
Now, what is the build volume on your big Creatos, and what's going to be the build volume on your Mini?
So the big Creatos is 300 by 550, and the Mini is 235. I would say 250, but it's pushing it, so we're probably going to software it at 235.
Lightspeed wants to know, will the Mini be all metal as well?
Yes. Yeah, the Mini's actually right here. I don't know if you guys can see it. I would pick it up and throw it at the camera, but yeah, maybe I'll pick the camera. That's probably a better idea. So that's the Mini. So
I'm going to make you big real quick so
yeah, that's fine.
People can see that better. And that's the big boy printing right there behind you?
Yeah. It's I don't really remember what it's printing. So my wife wanted something, and I actually, so the funny part about running a business and 3D printing and all this other stuff is I own the 3D printer, because it's obviously my design and my creation, but these 3D printers are both going to go back to our shop on Monday and then become just more of testing and
right.
Yeah, so it's like, at home it sucks because, I only get to play with the 3D printer every once in a while. So it really takes away the fun of it. I got into the hobby as, a 3D printing guy that wanted to 3D print a bunch of stuff. And now here I am just every weekend twiddling my thumbs. Like I want to print something, but maybe it has something throughout the week. The nights I'm up late working. I have a workshop where we actually will bring orders home and work on them at home if we have to, just to help out and get the flow out there. So we actually are opening up a storefront. That's what has tied up a lot of my time, and that's why I've not been on YouTube.
Physical storefront.
Yes, a physical storefront in Lapeer, Michigan. So it's going to be a pretty big deal. So this all started out of my house, and then we partnered up. Well, I partnered up with the person that I was getting all the water jet cutting from, and kind of moved into his building and started basically selling from his building, doing the assemblies and stuff there. And it's been a good thing. And he's kind of his building is kind of shaped right on a main road, and it's got a pretty good area that's good for parking and store frontage. So we were like, well, let's kind of redesign this, and I fronted some money to be able to go in and knock down some walls and build it up nice so it's a nice storefront. We're going to put a couple printers in there so people can come in and use them and send us files.
It could be like a little makerspace.
Yeah, it's a little mainly focused around 3D printing. They're a full-fledged CNC machine shop. They got 3 water jets and brake bending, weld fab. So it's nice to be able to have all that at my disposal to be able to make what I obviously design and create.
Awesome. Brian Vine says he likes your Y-axis kit for the Ender 3 Pro.
I appreciate it. He did the video, so it was like,
yeah,
Yeah, the install video. And he has an X and Z coming, so he can do an install video on that because I had so many, so when I launched the Kratos install video, I had a lot of people saying, you're missing this step and you're missing this step. And it's I'm not a YouTuber, so it's hard to go in and do an assembly video. So I'd like to send him a Kratos machine, but I mean, that's it's a lot to front, but I think
it is.
It's coming though. He'd probably be one of the first, unfortunately.
Both Greg and Lightspeed want to know what your price is going to be on the Mini.
So it's actually on pre-order right now, and the first shipment goes out September 1st, and it's $9.99. So, and that comes fully assembled. Basically, pull it out of the box and start printing. The only thing it does not come with is the screens and the build surface. So you just have to pick up one of those. But
so that's fully assembled. That's
fully assembled, not like
the
big one. Yeah, because I'm up late at night talking to people on chat because they can't put my machine together. So I decided that it's more worth it for me to find some freight boxing and figure out a way to make it more accessible to be able to ship it.
How does that affect shipping as far as the dimensions of the boxes?
So the funny part is the reason why we couldn't ship Kratos is because if we shipped it assembled, it would be, I think it's over 29 inches. Mm-hmm. So you can't ship, it'd go freight. So being that the Mini is, smaller, we can actually ship it non-freight, which is going to be, we're going to still probably use the crated cardboard boxes. So they're it's not crated, but it's, heavy built bottoms and, solid substrate. So.
I knew this was coming. Sean wants to know where his ANET E16.
Oh yeah. I gotta apologize to that guy because I lay in bed late at night thinking about, man, I need to get that done. So I actually passed that off to my colleague, and he had let me down. So I'm gonna have to pick the ball back up on that one and get it done for you guys.
I also know that you've been super busy getting the Mini done, and you're also prepping for ERF, and we'll actually be next to each other at ERF. I was happy to see that.
That's going to be pretty exciting. So yeah, ERF has been a huge thing because we're coming out with the dual independent X carriages for the Kratos. So basically it'll be an add-on kit to where you can print with dual Kratos. And we're kind of contemplating at this point in time making it available for our X kits that we sell for the Ender, the CR10, the S4, and S5. So basically it'll be a bolt-on kit that'll work independently with that and also the Kratos machines. So it's kind of that's a big take on to have that designed and done by ERF. We're hoping at this point in time we're like 95% there, but the biggest thing right now is if we make it cross compatible with those kits, it's going to make it plug and play with the hardware. The boards is going to be difficult. So
is that just adding a second hot end on?
Basically, it's going to be adding an independent driven hot end, so a whole nother X carriage that'll ride on the linear rail. So it'll be,
that's cool.
Yeah, so it'll be able to do mirrored images or similarities, so you can double prints basically. So that's a big on-taking for us, and then also the multi-material for Kratos, which is going to be 4 extruders and then a potential 5th one, and that's all going to be bolt-on. Basically, it's plug-and-play kit to where you can utilize 4 extruders feeding down to 1 direct drive.
Are they Bowden?
They'll be Bowden to direct, so you'll be able to feed the direct system right to the Bowden, or it'll be fed Bowden tubes to the direct using a splitter style setup.
Okay, so kind of like the MMU, or
yeah, very similar to that, but the MMU has the thing that moves and selects what filament it wants. This is all going to be basically 4 or 5 extruders that are going to feed in through a Y splitter and then into the direct drive setup.
Gotcha. So you won't have to retract all the way back to the top and then retract.
Correct.
Awesome.
So what do you think of the applications of multi-material and stuff? Because this is really something I'm huge into.
I think the biggest thing right now, I think, is there's just a lot of problems, and there's no good solution. I mean, the MMU is good. The pallet's a great setup. But I think that the problems that a lot of people have are a lot of it's user, but a lot of it is also, the inconsistencies. And, if you go and put 5 different types of material in there, you got to make sure that they're running consistent and they have the same sort of settings, and your slicers issues that can have, if if all 5 materials don't print the same, then how are you going to have the slicer slice them the same? And that's a lot of things that we are running into looking at it from our perspective. Like we have the Cura 3D Fused Edition, but Cura is limited in the abilities to be able to go in and slice multicolored and multi-material. So we're working on something for that, but it's very difficult. We've, looked at other options as well, like even going with like the Prusa slicer, but it's one of those things too. We don't really want to, Cura being that it's so open and it's, nice to be able to
Right. Brian wants to know what control board is it going to use?
It'll use the Duet. So the Duet is going to be the expansion board. So
have you tried Patheos yet for your slicing with the new E3D?
We haven't. Yeah, we've looked at it.
It's starting to get there.
That's the thing is the biggest part about, as sad as it is to say like user support and, jumping on forums and having the availability to be able to see what other people have, had trouble with. And then that's where that lacks. You can't go on GitHub and find customization for that because there isn't really a lot out there. There is, but it's not enough to what we need it to get into.
Yeah, I've mostly been using Simplify 3D with my H series machine from Diabase. It's a turret machine with 5 extruders on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that machine is more about like actually being, because it can do additive and subtractive, so you can put like cutting tools.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like a different thing completely. But the most of the issues I've came across have been in aligning the multiple heads, and so like your solution is great because you still have that one extruder.
Yeah, and that's why we went with it. We actually designed up a full metal aluminum block to hold multiple nozzles, and it's just inconsistent. You can't really, that's the biggest problem. If you have a solid block and then someone changes and the nozzle tolerances are off, then it's going to have issues there. And another thing a lot of people don't think about too is, if your bed's off kilter, or because you are probed, so if it is off, higher, you want it to be pretty perfect, but if it's off, and the probe will pick it up. But if it's, the nozzles are now off because the bed's off, so it puts a whole nother factor into there, which is very difficult to accommodate.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Now, since you brought up the whole multi-material, how do you handle as far as if I had 4 different filaments up? They're not all PLA, but they're not, stacking on the same layer. But say I was doing a wrench.
Yep.
And I did the handle. I wanted to do the handle in PETG, and I wanted to do the little screw thing in PLA, and then I wanted to do the opening thing in ABS. With the variances of temperatures,
that is the problem.
Yeah.
The slicer has to be able to, dignify when it's changing materials and then go in and change those settings, even, per material, per layer, because you got to think too, hot end temperatures. You sit there and you're printing at one point, and then next thing you know, you want to change materials. And now your hot end's got to heat up. So now your print time is, going through the roof. So having a hot end that's capable to jump up to temperature quick and to do other temperature changes very quickly is important as well. That's why we've partnered up with Slice, and we're looking at them for mainly this multi-material kit. So
Slice has done some good work. They're the guys with the mosquito.
The mosquito, yeah.
And
that, you can put the 50 cartridge on the E3D, but the block design is just not as good unless you go Volcano and you have multiple heater cartridges, and that's a way to go. But the Slice with the simple, their simple block is very easy to use, and easy to be able to adapt one cartridge to be able to get up the temperature quicker.
I'm signing up for a 1% referral fee on that. Since I introduced you guys, but no.
that's fine. That's fine. I appreciate it. It does help to have buddies in the community. Like
no, it's a lot of this in your business, in 3D printing business. It's not always what you know; it's who you know. And
100%.
And like I said, when me and you first started talking, if I could introduce you to as many people as you needed to, I'm more than happy to do that, because I wanna help smaller companies grow and meet their maximum potential as well. Yeah, I'm just a little guy.
Yeah, and same here. That's the big thing for us was like, I was always in 3D printing. I was always watching over the Facebook groups and viewing the streams and watching people on YouTube, but I was never contributing. And for probably a good 3 years. And then, now that I'm in it, it's like, man, I should have been in there contributing. I should have been doing this. I should have been doing that, because it's the connections that you make with the people. There's a lot of good ideas and a lot of people out there that are just doing it and don't really have the backing to go in and manufacture things, or to be able to have the exposure to equipment to be able to do certain things. So having those people reach out to me, I've had a lot of people reach out to me saying, hey, I want to make this, do you have any intuit, or you have any ideas on how I could do it, or can you help me out with this? Or
Right.
it's huge. I mean, it's really huge.
And I have the whole 3D printing community fooled, because I know jack about 3D printing, which is probably why I have trouble with all of my printers, no matter what they are.
See, it doesn't matter. Your boxes are gorgeous, and that's all we actually
right. I love my boxes. So,
and to be fair, your projects are also really cool too. So,
I think the next 2 months there's been a couple kind of lame ones. My Thanksgiving one last year was lame, and according to some hate emails I got this month, my August one was lame. But I mean, I try.
I loved the ice skating rink, man. That thing was so cool.
That was cool, right? And Brian Vines designed that, so thank you so much, Brian Vines, for that. I think that's until my UFO this past month, the UFO lamp, which I didn't design, somebody else already designed it, but I did the parts. The ice skating rink I got the most positive feedback on, and then next to that was the musical pumpkin last year for Halloween.
UFO lamp, yeah.
But yeah, that ice skating rink was definitely the cutest thing. But oh my goodness, it's so loud. So anybody else have any more questions for Cody at 3D Fused? I know Chance took a lot of questions over the first hour.
I mean, I want to know more about the machine, but I like technical details, like, I like
the stuff that's going to bore everybody.
Yeah, that'll bore. So,
Lightspeed wants to know how loud the Creatos is. I know you have it printing back there, but I don't hear it.
Yeah, I mean, so this one that's back here was like one of the very original ones, and we were using a fan to cool the control board that was a little on the loud side, and we've actually switched to a newer style fan that's, I mean, super quiet. The loudest part of the machine, like the Mini, is going to be your E3D Titan fan, which we're looking at actually not representing the E3D fan on that. We're probably going to go to our own fan, because we do want to make it a little quieter, but I mean, they're very quiet.
Yeah, I was actually surprised at how and my rail core, I'm not going to say it's like super loud or anything, but it's definitely louder than I expected.
Yeah, what are you doing to bring down the sound on the steppers? Are you doing like the step sticks, or are you doing the what is it, that T2850 or whatever, the one,
the drivers? Is that what it is?
Yeah, the drivers with the different variety on that you can put the motors into, or what?
So as far as how we quiet our machine, the Duet board has the onboard drivers, the 2208s, that are extremely quiet.
Yeah, 2208, 2209, yeah, 5130s. Yeah.
Lightspeed wants to know why we can't get a Creatos with a Mosquito, but they're coming.
Yeah, so I mean, you can just order the no hot end option if you wanted to, and then we would just, when the Creatos Mosquito package comes out, which is like very soon, like probably, I would say by September 1st. Probably.
Yeah, I know you guys just
I don't like to
announced it
commit
last
to
week,
dates,
right?
because I end up, what's that?
You guys just announced it on Twitter last week.
Yeah, we did. We just announced it on Twitter. The biggest thing that I was actually working with somebody that's a pretty famous Thingiverse hot end fang duck designer. I'm not going to say any names because we might go our separate ways, but
Gotcha.
Hey man, tell
I
him to make one for the Robo, man. I need that. I need
Yeah,
it.
so
Yeah.
the one that's originally on it, that Titan, all the mounts and stuff were designed by me, but obviously as business gets bigger, I don't have time to do that stuff. So I have put a lot of time and effort, and I don't want, I mean, the Titan Aero mount, I went with a single fan just because, or single fang, just because it was the way it was all located. I wanted to do a dual, but it kind of got down to the point where it was like, man, this is just kind of works perfect. And I didn't really see a big advantage. I printed a dual, but it was like, it just wasn't a huge advantage to what it was actually doing. So on the Mosquito kit, I have the same similar fang setup that I have just quickly designed up and I'm working on. That is basically working on our test printer. But like I said, I partnered up with somebody and they're supposed to be kind of coming up with something for me. And I've seen some renderings and they look really, really good, but I have not done any testing. And that's kind of what's holding the ground right now on whether we release it by September 1st or not.
Right.
But it will be available, obviously, by Earth, whether I use my rendition or their rendition.
You got 12 days. Chop, chop.
Yeah, I know. I just got to spend some time on the computer and probably do it myself. And I want the dual fang because I think with the Mosquito, I think having that is another added benefit. And as much as it's a sales pitch, it's kind of a sales pitch. The dual fang, it does have a lot of good advantages. To get the air flowing in all different directions is huge, especially when you're printing around something where the material's being blocked or the fan's being blocked, so it can't cool it. So yeah, the dual fang makes 100% sense.
Greg, I did miss it earlier. I apologize, but he wants to know what are the main advantages to linear rails over V wheels, like on the Creality machines?
So linear rails are pretty much 100% adjustment free. You don't have to really go in and do any real maintenance other than oiling them, which typically, like if you don't print often or you have an area in your house that isn't very dusty, I know that's a huge reason to why you would need to oil it or at least wipe or clean the rails. The biggest advantage that I see is the lack of, or the no adjustment. And then you have flat spots that get on these rubber wheels or the whatever they're made out of, Delrin. And those flat spot, they get in the wheels, and then you get those vibration or artifacts in your prints. So with linear rails, you don't have that effect. You don't have any sort of misalignment that could happen from the wheels. So I mean, it's an all around better system. There's a lot of advantages that from like adjustability. I'm like tongue tied here. You stage. No, so
put you on the spot
is one of the biggest advantages. That's about all I have on the top of my head right now.
Okay.
So,
I mean, repeatability too, just with your motion.
No, repeatability. I mean, they're quieter in some cases. Now, if they're on aluminum, like we put them on, they resonate a little bit, but they, the rubber, the Delrin to aluminum is a quiet option, but it's sometimes if you have a bad bearing or whatever, you can hear a squeal or whatever. But the blocks on the linear rails, they last really good. The biggest thing is good quality linear rails. There's a lot of people that are out there that have bad experience with linear rails, and that's because they buy either poor quality or they don't know how to properly take care of them out of the box. And we do all that in-house to make sure that the linear rails are performing well when you guys receive them. So that's the most important thing.
Right. Brian wants to know, will your Mini be offered as a kit? I know you already said they're coming fully thing.
Yeah,
would it reduce the price any?
So we've talked about that, and it's honestly going to cost us less money to just sell it to you fully assembled because of the amount of support that goes into the assembly process. Now, if we have a good assembly video, that might be a different story. But yeah, so I mean, the big thing is we want to make sure that when the printer arrives to you, you can use it, print with it, and make it work. We've talked about like doing like maybe putting a note on there that says if you'd like it disassembled for the enjoyment of putting it together, then we can do something with that for you or give you a discount code for the disassembly. I mean, shipping will go down a little bit because the package isn't going to be as big, but at the same point in time, there's going to be more packaging that's involved, so it might actually equal out to be about the same cost because everything's going to be individually wrapped, individually packaged. The weight's going to be the same, but that's the big thing that we've talked about. It's just it's hard to accommodate. Like Prusa has their machine where it's, you get the unassembled version and then you get the assembled version. And you can kind of, you pay more for the assembled version, but at the same point in time, what I'm looking at is the less amount of support that it's going to require selling the assembled version.
Right.
So I'd rather keep the cost the same as the non-assembled version because I'm not going to have to support the assembly.
Right. Sean Butler wants to know, does the X gantry get off kilter like the V wheels?
The X gantry, as far as like it rocking, or I'm not sure I understand that question.
Clarify, Sean.
Yes, please.
Let's see. Hey, Ryan. Welcome.
So you're probably referring to the fact that it like will drop on the right side or left side, and you have to measure it out.
One side drops lower than the other.
So, yes and no. I mean, it's going to have I like to tell a lot of people the reason why that drops is because of misalignment of either a mechanical part of the printer. If you're referring to the ender, I mean, there's going to be a sag because there's nothing holding that side up. There's no drive parts or drive components on that side. So with our kit, you have the linear rail blocks, so they're smaller, so there's actually more room for, to drop a little bit. But if everything is adjusted properly and the blocks are adjusted properly and secured, then that can actually ride at a more even rate. And the biggest reason why that actually happens is because you lose steps in your steppers, or if you power it down and it is out of adjustment, or there's the brackets tweaked or not actually on center of the extrusion, it's going to want to pull that side down, if that makes sense. I don't have a better explanation than that. But
I've always wondered why, when you have the two Z screws, right?
Yeah.
Why there isn't a end stop on both sides so it can auto adjust in the firmware.
Yeah, so we actually, for the Creatos, we originally wrote the Duet basically the Duet software to I don't know if you want to call it Duet firmware or whatever you want to call it, their config.g file. We wrote it so it would use the ABL to come down and probe each side and then auto square the gantry. And the biggest reason why we went away from that is because if you have it off by a little bit and it wants to auto do that, it can actually, the steppers can actually, it can cause more damage because it's trying to auto compensate, and there's a lot of things we can do to make that work, but usability and having the user,
actually do what they're supposed to do and read the manual.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to say it I don't want to say it that way because it sucks to have to. I have to think every product that I'm trying to develop, I have to think, well, what if this person gets it? What would happen? Or this.
So the proper answer is another YouTube video.
Yeah. Well, I actually joked with everybody that was watching me stream last night is that if anybody wants to test a new printer or a functionality of a printer or an accessory, send it to me because I break everything. and
so if you get my printer, then I can't have those options enabled.
Well, you're giving it to, you're bringing me one at to Earth, so exactly. I'll have it broke the following week. Don't worry.
No, you can't. It's not gonna happen. The best part is though, I mean, like the Creality printers, you can shear bolts and things can get bent and twisted, but this is 1/4-inch aluminum, so I mean, you got to put a lot. I mean, you have to run it over with a truck or something to really do any damage to it.
See if there's any bin.
So yeah, we've talked about doing, setting up configuration files for that setup and then having them on the site so people can download them and use them. I actually have one, so if there's anybody out there that is interested, I can easily send that to them.
I've really enjoyed working with the Duet, man. It's a really good control board.
Yeah, so
I really like it too.
Yeah, the last thing that last night I was probably up till, I don't know, it was late. I had a generator running because my power went out, and I was watching your stream last night. It was unfortunate I was on it, and then I got booted off. But yeah, I had a generator running just to run my 3D printer because I was in the middle of trying to figure something out. So the big task that I was trying to accomplish this weekend was to make it so I could have the probe auto calibrate itself, which there's tons of macros on GitHub out there for people that do it, and it saves all this stuff. But what I didn't like about it is you have to manually feather the thing down. You got to use a piece of paper. So I wanted to use like stall detection and have it come down and just basically slam into the bed and stall the motors and say, okay, this is where my nozzle is, and then come back up and then reprobe and say, okay, this is where my probe is, and then save all that in the config override, so that way it would just automatically do it. So my users,
that would be cool because people don't always get the offset right on the probe.
It's a pain in the butt. That is one of the probably the biggest things that I deal with is like, okay, I'm baby stepping and it's not saving it after I power it down, or it's doing this, and it's like, okay, well, this is what you have to do. This is how you got to do it. And I'm always dealing with that. So I was like, man, I got to come up with a way that this can be set, and then it's just set it and forget it, and you don't have to worry about it when you fire your printer up. If it's off, you just hit that, automatically macro or automatically adjust your probe height, and it'll go in and do it. I mean,
that's
pretty close.
Definitely would be helpful. Yeah,
I'm trying to get it so where it'll save it. The biggest problem I'm having right now is it's like a G30 S-3, which I'm probably getting way too technical. I don't know if I am or not, but the G30 S-3 will save, but the problem is it's not saving it in the format that I need it to save it. So
gotcha.
If there's any Duet guys out there that want to help me with that, that'd be slick.
Viking, the last print of the big UFO part, it failed as well, and then I haven't got back into printing the giant alien parts yet because I'm trying to get the parts for my new spooler done. Because I have, 12 days to get the UFOs out as well. So that's my priority right now. And I'm gonna, I don't talk bad about companies. I try my best not to talk bad about companies or products or anything. The WAM system is a great system. The Build Tech system is a great system. The TH3D mat works good. They all have their pros and cons. Me, I break everything. And I've broken all of those build plates. And the hairspray on the spring steel directly has been amazing for the last 3 days.
Oh, I love hairspray, to be honest, and I won't use it on some of my machines just because I'm like, I'm not getting this into the internals of the more expensive ones. But with a removable bed like that, where I have the option on my Robo to just take it out and slap it on there, dude. I disabled the IR probe on that thing, by the way, just because I didn't want to have to only be able to use Build Tack or something of the sort. And I did that one time with this just straight onto the spring steel, and yeah.
Well, I was curious if it would actually really work on a spring steel, and it does, and it works great so far. And I
think it'll depend on the material, but I mean,
well, I'm doing it with
PLA. I think it does work.
Yeah, I'm doing it with Pet G right now, and I sit here and I spin this to cool it down quicker, and then I know when it's done when the part falls off.
It's a clever way of doing it.
There you go.
I'm always too impatient to flex it, and if it's a PLA printer. It's just
well, see, that
part of it because it's
that's where I screwed up with the WAM, because I was using printing Pet G on WAM, and you really have to wait for it to completely cool down, otherwise it rips off parts of the PEX. I was impatient, so I would flex it to get it off quick and start my next print, and I ended up ripping off the PEX.
I did that with Build Tech with Pet G, man. And really anything with Pet G, if you are not careful with your bed surface, even if it's glass, you can tear chunks out of glass with Pet G. Yeah. It's a sticky material. I had it too mushed into the bed on one corner because, like I said, I was using the IR sensor. And it's Built Tack, so it's not the exact same consistency after you've used it a couple times. So one little corner was a little higher, and it pushed it in on the Robo, and
Right.
I probably should have let it cool a little longer, and it was starting to flex. And I just started getting frustrated and popped it off, and there goes a big chunk of the build tech.
Yep. You have to really. Oh, there my part went. Where'd it go? But yeah, you really need to dial in your printer to use for each different build surface, because each one acts differently. The build tack, you really have to get that layer just perfect where you're not mushing it in, because otherwise it sticks way too good and you're gonna rip parts of your thing off. And
Now speaking of that though, so the technique I've been using recently to completely avoid all of this is just with multi-material printing a flexible material as a raft. And then right onto it, you
That's
have your
interesting.
ABS, your PET-G, your PLA, whatever. You can print directly onto the flex raft and peel it off. The video I was going to show you earlier, I got distracted and didn't finish posting it to Instagram, but it's on there now. If you want to look at the one I was complaining my sister couldn't hold the camera in, it's far to the left now. But so like you can literally just print material onto the flexible raft and have it a certain offset height above it and print very slow. That S3D has a setting above raft speed. Turn that all the way down, and then just peel it off.
I would have never thought of that. See, I hate rafts and I hate supports, period. But
it's a whole different thing when you have multi-material and you're doing supports and rafts. It's completely different than when you're doing single, because it makes more sense because they don't bond the same way. Like you don't get all that nasty, under support, burrs and such that you get when they're the same material and they've melted.
Let me see if I can capture this with my thing, because that is really cool. Screen capture, smart select. Sometimes apps let me grab things and sometimes they don't. Ah, yes, here we go. So I'm gonna make this big so everybody can see it. And so this is TPU as a raft.
That's the FiberFlex 30D as a raft. So it's a TPU, whatever you want to use. And then the white stuff is high impact polystyrene. And the other three are ABS.
That's cool.
And this is kind of what I see for multi-material. I don't necessarily, pretty colors, same material, 4 different PLA or whatever. I want it to be fun. I want you to be able to do a flexible and an ABS or whatever. But even when you have multiple tool heads, you're still restricted by that temperature issue, because a PLA with an ABS is going to warp just because of the temperature of the material going into it. So it's all. There's a lot for us to learn still as a community and an industry with multi-material printing.
Right.
I love it.
Brian, I'm guessing this question is for Cody at 3D Fused. What type of heated bed do you use?
Here's the Canovo silicone AC heaters.
That's pretty much the standard nowadays with printers coming out, right?
Yeah, it is. The biggest thing is it's very hard to import them because they are out of China, obviously.
Right.
There is a Michigan manufacturer that's been kind of creeping up. That is, we're hoping to get our hands on, but their price is like through the roof compared to what Canovo is. So I've had a couple meetings with them to potentially bring the price down for the community, but it's here or there.
Right.
I mean, you can only do so much when it is supply, and we are.
Exactly. And, going into it, I kind of thought that they just imported Canovo and then they just slapped their branding on it, but it's actually not. It's actually manufactured in the United States. So I was pretty impressed by that aspect.
It's so expensive.
Yeah, and that is why it's so expensive.
RC, if you're still here, I got it printed. That's the new hub for my spooler. Need to test the holes, and I should have only did a 1 millimeter thing, but anyways. Oh, son of a biscuit eater. Where is... There it is.
Matter of fact, I still have to put that cube into some limonene and dissolve this hips to see if it even works.
Yeah, I was gonna, I don't know if you've seen my post since you don't pay attention to Twitter much, but I'm looking into doing dissolvable spools for the UFOs, and hips is cheaper than
PVA by a long shot.
PVA by a long shot, and
the issue is the material, or the limonene to dissolve it is more expensive than water, though.
Can you not use lemon juice? Because somebody was telling me you could use lemon juice.
I have not tried lemon juice. I do know that this is an extract of orange peels through like a steaming and crushing and all that, and it's like the oil that you get from that. So I would assume that it could be similar, but at the same time, I would not expect it to be anywhere near as effective.
Really?
So, I mean, the nice thing is it seems that I can reuse it. Like I even if I dissolve the hips in the material, I can, or in the limonene, I can kind of get the top layer off of that and then just pour the rest back in. So, but I haven't tried lemon juice. That's worth a shot, because it's like $80 a gallon for limonene right now because of 3D printing. It's shot up, but you use very little if you consider what you're making and you have a container that fits it right. You know what I mean? If you're doing something big with a lot of parts, you're going to end up just cutting most of them off and then having to figure something out.
Yeah, because that's my holdup right now is testing the whole dissolvability, because a lot of people, including myself, so I'm not trying to insult any of my customers, are lazy, and they wouldn't want to.
I don't see it as lazy. I see it as ingenuitively looking for easier solutions.
There we go. So there are people out there that I know won't want to spend the time to actually dissolve it. So I've got to check it as far as the time it takes for stuff to dissolve, the availability of what you need to make it dissolve. So if lemon juice is, I don't think Cody, are you in the YouTube chat as well?
I got it pulled up.
People are asking what your handle is
there
in chat because he can't tag you. Yeah, there he is. I'm
on like 3 computers, so.
And then, but yeah, so I'm in testing phases, and I know PVA you can dissolve with just water. However, being as humid as it is in Florida, I'm scared that they'd break down before I could even get them bagged up. And
not to mention printing it. If you don't have an enclosure to print PVA out of, and you're doing it for more than a couple hours in humidity, it's gonna get bad.
Yeah, it's gonna suck. So I mean, I'm hoping by the end of the year to have a solution, but I don't know. Still,
hips, I'd say, is more useful for how easily it breaks off of materials. It doesn't bond to them when you're doing the supports, so they come off cleaner. More than the dissolvability, just because of the cost of limonene right now, to be honest. It is really useful though, and if you need it, it is exceptionally good for that sort of thing. I don't see your customers going out and buying bottles of limonene.
Exactly. Yeah. and I'm also trying to make sure that I can 3D, when I print them, put the recycle code on them. but I know only like 60% of the U.S. recycling centers actually recycle HIPs. But I'd still want to get the recycle code on it, so in case local recycling companies do, the option there is available.
Yeah, I actually am trying to start a thing for 3D printing spools in the Midwest, getting them recycled. It's just one of those things I actually have to organize an entire community first because of the size of the delivery you have to take to these people to get things recycled. So like I want to get spools and have people, drop them off, anyone who's in Columbus or something, and then take them to the recycling center, but you need a ton. Like an actual, not a metaphorical ton, a literal ton. Now I guarantee you, I probably have enough friends alone that we could get a ton of spools. Just
Right.
But like doing it locally is different. You know what I mean? So that's kind of one of the projects I'm working on right now, is trying to figure out a way to build a community here in Columbus that we can all kind of help each other out getting that recycled, because I believe our recycling here doesn't actually do ABS, if I remember correctly. So it's unfortunate.
Another question for you, Cody. Why use an AC heat bed versus a DC heat bed?
Well, the AC, it looks like he says, seems like it would be a safer option. So the AC heat bed is actually a safer option. It is higher voltage, so less current, and that can get up to temperature faster. The biggest downfall to an AC heat bed versus a DC heat bed is you have to have a solid state relay or something to be able to switch over the current, which like the Duet board can power a DC heat bed just fine. But having the basically a solid state relay that you can switch over is just another component you have to have that's technically could fail. But that setup is much preferred over the DC because it's less current and it's not so much voltage. The voltage is going through the wires, but the current isn't. And the current is actually what causes a lot of the problems that a lot of people have with the burnt ends and the connections, and it's more draw on the power supply. So there's a lot of advantage to go AC.
Now, I have a question for both of you, though I will ask one at a time. I'll start with you, Cody. What is your background in that got you thus far?
So it's kind of like a gray area, because my background is actually in manufacturing. And like I said before, I think I've been in manufacturing for about 10 years. And I've kind of been a project manager / programmer / designer / overseeing designers / I worked for a small company for 8 of those 10 years, and their main niche was designing manufacturing solutions for companies. So I kind of started out there as, a programmer working through the shop and, helping out in the manufacturing floor as far as CNC programmings go. And then I started overseeing that department and kind of grew into the quoting / design and development stages of what they were doing. And then shortly in the last 3 or 4 months, I left that company, which was bittersweet to do obviously this.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's kind of my background has been, I've touched a little bit of all sorts of manufacturing, from nuclear, aerospace to automotive, designing all sorts of weird things and solving problems. That was the big thing.
And now you, Chance?
Nowhere near as impressive. Like, dang. I've gone first, man. Jeez.
My bad.
No. I'm much more informal with my education. I've always just been interested in computers, robots, things like that. And from a young age, I was the kid that got yelled at for taking apart the remote, not taking the batteries out, taking apart the remote. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when Windows 98 came out, I was 9, and my mom wouldn't upgrade the Windows 3.11 computer, so I swapped the Molex connector around and fried the hard drive so she'd have to. Like, I was that kid, not to be proud of that, but I more kind of got informally educated with electronics and problem solving and things like that. And when I've had jobs, I've, for the most part, done other things, and it's not been satisfying. I've done a little bit of IT work even, and that's still because I was working for somebody who basically the way they did it was they contracted through 2 different companies so that Chase wouldn't have to actually give a dang who they were hiring. So I basically worked for Chase through another company.
Right.
It just wasn't satisfying. And, so it's always kind of just been a drive to fulfill, like, I feel like I could do better. And that's kind of what's put me here, is wanting to actually do something, provide something to a community that I have enjoyed becoming a part of. And, the IT and computer background has helped extremely, because I know I can dive into the firmware and actually know what that means in there. I can tinker with the electronics if I need to mess with something in the controls or config files, and that's helped a lot, because I actually I got the Maker Select for my first printer, but really how I learned the 3D printing was I got 2 broken printers and fixed them. So I guess really my background is a tinker. That's really what it comes down to.
Right.
Is a tinkerer, and having that kind of a mentality that I want to play with things, make them better, find new and explorative avenues to solve problems. I guess that's what's led me to where I am now.
Hey, mine's even worse than yours. I dropped out of school after 8th grade, moved to a foreign country, was homeless for 3 out of 10 months, came back, got my GED, joined the Army, started web development, and I've been doing that for the last 20 years.
Maybe I should have you take a couple pictures for me. Jeez. Oh, man.
But no, I self-taught myself. But I was like you. I took electronics apart and put them back together when I was a kid. And my mom used to get so mad at me for it. And then I got into web development, and I'm self-taught in that, and been doing it for 20 years. And then 3D printing. Once I got into that, I loved the community, and I was like, hey, I want to do something fun. And I, at the time, I got Loot Crate boxes, and it scares the heck out of me, because 2 days ago I read an article that Loot Crate filed for bankruptcy. But I wanted to do something fun, and the projects, even though there are other maker boxes out there, the projects are unique, and I've got the coolest boxes around, and I want to have fun. That's my main motivation, because I'm so burnt out from doing web development work and programming for other people.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think I saw another question. Greg from Maker Corner said, "Don't AC beds conflict with some bed leveling sensors?"
Yes, I think even DC beds conflict with some leveling sensors. It just depends on the leveling sensor that you're using. With the Kratos machine, we have tested it's basically a proximity sensor, but we've tested that with several types of beds. And we decided to go with the AC bed still after, just because of the consistency that we received. We've done, I think it was like 1 million point test where we went through and just probed every basically square centimeter of the bed, and square millimeter, of the bed, and just, like I said, 1 million times, and looked at the analysis report for several different proximity sensors before we settled on the one that we were actually using. It was that or an 18 millimeter. We're using a 12 millimeter now, and we've seen great results from the one supplier that we're using. We actually switched suppliers a while back to try to bring costs down a little bit on those, and immediately after testing them, as soon as we got them in, we decided that it was not a good idea and went back to our original source.
You get what you pay for type thing?
Yeah, and the funny thing is it wasn't even much cheaper. It was like literally just the ease of getting it.
Right.
Before we had to buy basically bulk of the sensor in order to be able to get the price that was affordable for, bulk pricing. And this company was willing to do a smaller bulk quantity run, but also keep the price down a little bit as well. So, but you get what you pay for, and it was not worth it, even though it was literally the same exact sensor, same body, same shell, everything, but the insides were different. So
interesting.
Yep. Companies
why-
have been out things.
As far as did you test mechanical probes as well? As far
We
as like
did.
the,
So, like,
the
a lot
BL
of, like,
touch and
yeah, so I hate the BL Touch, and I'll be first to admit it. I don't have anything, I have no ties to that company at all. I don't, or any other probing company that makes 3D probe sensors or whatever. I hate it because it's failed me several times. And a lot of people say, "Oh, it was user error," or whatever the case is. But the first time it failed me was the mechanics inside of it. The probe actually dropped, and it was like a 77-hour print, and it was on like the last half hour, and the probe fell down and caused a bunch of issues. So that like totally ruined my time. So I went through and I was like, well, I'll give it another shot. I'll get another one, which is dumb me. And shortly after that one actually fried the internals of it actually got fried, and it could have been a user error on that one, but I'm still blaming the sensor.
well, they
I've
got a
had great
version 3
success.
out now.
Yeah, and I've considered it. I've considered it offering it as an option. I actually have the BL Touch on the site, and it's one of those things that a lot of times people don't, you don't want to sell what you have, but I have like 5 of them here, and I want to get rid of them, but I haven't had any reason or anyone want them, so I don't know. So if people want BL Touches, let me know, and I'll probably give them a really good deal on them. But yeah, I actually bought them because originally when I was starting to do the Creatos, I was going to offer them as a thing. So I bought 5 of them. I was like, oh yeah, I'll just use them. And then again, I ended up taking it off because if the very beginning stages of Creatos in 3D Fuse, we had the Creatos was made out of 3/8 aluminum, and it was a beast of a machine. But it still is. And we actually went through and I'm going to say dumb it down, but we made it more production available or more able to produce it.
Right.
And one of the biggest things that we did was reduced it from 3/8 to quarter. We did tons of force testing, and quarter was plenty strong enough. We don't know. It was over-engineered in the beginning. The original website, we had multiple options from different hot end types to choose from, different beds, it was just like option overload. So the first, I think we got like 27 orders with our first big, someone stumbled across us on Facebook and bought it, and it was or next thing you know, they did a post on it or something, and that was when we had went from no orders to a crap ton, and we had a hard time basically getting those orders out because there were so many options.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a few of each things here, and we had to go through and start picking apart and getting it so we could get those orders out. And needless to say, it was just man, we have to do something that's going to be more production friendly, and then also easier to get the components and keep it consistent. So that's why a lot of the rail kits, if you look at them too, all the components are cross compatible. So that way we can stock up what we need and make sure that they work on everything. And, it keeps the quality issues down and helps out a lot of, keeping simplicity. That's for sure.
Welcome imagination to form. I have a question. You and I have talked about this previously, so I kind of already know the answer, but just for everybody that may watch this, open sourcing versus closed sourcing your printers.
Yes. So I'm 100%. I will give the design to anyone. I don't have a problem. As far as what it takes to manufacture it, I do have a problem with that. As far as if I say okay, open source, I can tell you where I get everything. I can tell you all the firmware information. I can give you all the downloadable stuff that we use. It's actually most of it is already available on our website. I can give you the solid models for all the plastic components to modify, create, do what you want with. But the CAD design of the printer, there's tolerances that we hold when we manufacture them. That is very important to the assembly process. And it's a simple design. If you wanted to lay out the 2D pattern and make it, it's not difficult to duplicate. But there's a uniqueness in how we made everything fit together, and the tab and slot design that we chose. There's tolerancing in there. A lot of people have asked, can you go powder coat? And you could powder coat it, and we haven't powder coated it because there's a lot of inconsistencies with powder coating. So
right,
we want to make sure the rails ride flat. We buy our material from a specific source that has good flatness on the material. We water jet cut everything so we don't have heat affected. A lot of companies have said, hey, you should laser cut it because it's going to be more cost effective. Yeah, but you're inducing heat to the actual material, which causes warping and other issues. Now, yes, CO2 lasers, so they stay cool, have advantages and you can get away with it, but the edge finish is not as pretty. So
Gotcha.
and we have just so happen to have a good partnership with someone that has 3 water jets. So now that they're in the building that I share with them, it's pretty nice.
Nice. All right, chat. I am running out of questions to think of. So, do you guys? Here we go. Do you guys have questions for the community, as far as anything your company may be doing or involved in or thinking about doing that you need feedback from?
Who wants to go first, right?
I already got great
I'll let
feedback on how my website sucks, so that's awesome.
I'll
Yeah,
let
actually,
Chance go first.
Oh man. What other kind of things do you guys, I mean, in the same vein as what I was talking about earlier, the consumables, things that are consistent, things that make your lives easier. What do you find like that besides just consistent filament, things like Magic Goo, things that you use like 3D glue, tools of that sort? I would love to know things like that you'd be interested in me carrying, because that's really what we're trying to build here, is a library of things that make everything about printing easier. Anybody, any tools that you've found?
Any tools that you find hard to get that you'd like to see. And make sure you tag Wolfworks when you ask those questions, so because I know chat can be lagged, people may not be paying attention or whatever. So we'll continue on with you, Cody. What do you?
Well, so I guess the biggest question I have is, when it comes to printer modifications and things that we are creating, so we've done the linear rail kits, and that's kind of, like I said, it's kind of picked up more than even the printers. But the biggest question we have internally is, do we focus more attention on the upgrades for the Chinese style printers or the Chinese manufactured printers, or do we put more attention into our printer and get it so that way that takes over the main part of the business? The hardest part for us is the time that is involved in going in. So I guess I'll give an example. So we just launched the XZ kit for the Ender, and we sold the first day, I want to say it was close to, that is a huge deal, about 45 of them the very first day. So we shipped 45 of those, and we did all the testing in-house with the stock hot end, and we had users getting that with non-stock hot ends, such as the Titan Aero or the Micro Swiss or the E3D V6.
Right.
And they had all these custom fangs, and the stock hot end and everything mounted up fine, but the hose positions were off about 1 millimeter because we used the standard block that we've used on the CR10 and the CR10S and the S4, S5 kits. And I guess whatever Creality decided to do, they decided to shift the holes over for the Ender like 1 millimeter. And the stock hot end and everything, the metal casing, all that fits fine. But the location from the 2 holes in the center where it mounts the nozzle to the 2 holes back to the where it mounts the fang shroud and all that was off, like I said, about 1 millimeter. So custom printed fangs didn't actually bolt up properly. So, we're constantly dealing with that. Like, okay, we're going to have to spend all this time going in and tracking down these printer models. And then Creality did a revision because when we launched our Y kit, some of the enders in the early stages could not reach, or the early stage enders, what I actually had and we tested it on, it could reach all the way down, but then the newer model enders, like the Ender 3 Pro, could not reach it. So we had to end up including a spacer with our kit. So flexibility, it's like, Creality is either A, really dumb because they go in and they change their revisions of their printer, or they're really smart because they don't want people to adapt and make kits to it. However way you want to take it.
Right.
So we constantly like, man, do we want to continue doing the rail kits, or do we want to? I mean, we want to obviously sell what we have, but there's been a lot of talk about, should we do the Annets, and should we go in and start doing kits for the Ender 5s and Ender 4s, and all these other printers that are out there, or should we make our main focus be the mini and the printers that we sell?
Well, here's my opinion on that, and maybe the viewers will have something different to say. It seems to me if you focus more on rail kits and such, you're always going to be bending to the will of other companies, because like you said, every time they pump out a different revision, you're going to have to waste time to redo yours. And then again, like even Sean just asked, are you going to make kits for other printers? And again, the more printers you make things for, the more you are a slave to those printers.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what we constantly struggle with. I mean, we're trying to adapt now to fang mounts that people have, because like, for instance, the Pets Fang is extremely popular, and there's a few others that are out there that are extremely popular. And going in and making a block that's adaptable to that fang just means that I got to now print that fang or download the CAD files, which I can't usually get from the guy that makes them, because I can get the STL files, which obviously I can go in and pull from and get dimensions from. But so yeah, I mean, there's constantly that battle of, you know, what do I do? Do I just go through and I make this work for every single thing? But at that point, it's like you're buying a custom part. You know, you have to realize that there's going to be some give and take there from the end user on what's going to work with it. Now we're trying to go in and, like I said, we're working with somebody that's, you know, a hot end mount fang guy that's going to be potentially making fangs for all of our kits. That's going to work cross platform. But it's one of those things too. Then you have the users out there that are trying to use something different, and they want to use their specific thing because they like it and it works for them, and it's worked for them for so long, and all they want to do is add a rail to their machine. But yet they don't see that, you know, it's not going to, there's design issues there that are not going to be able to work. So it's just, it's a hard struggle for sure.
Yeah. And like Brian said, build your brand and innovate. And that's what I agree with. I love your Creatos, and I can't wait to get my hands on mine. And the fact that you created a smaller version, which is in direct competition with a Prusa, and yours comes completely assembled for ease for the users. I think you should concentrate more on your printers and more on innovating that side of your company versus being a slave to other companies with their upgrade products.
Agree. And I think, you know, like for instance, it's gotten us a lot of exposure that I am 100% happy with. You know, it's gotten us access to conversations that I wouldn't have been able to have if I didn't make these rail kits. So it's been huge.
It's definitely a stepping stone to get to where you are. For sure.
So and then big thing that is kind of, you know, open the idea. You know, a lot of people that buy the kits are like, man, had I even known you guys had a printer, I would have just bought this. It's like, well, when you go on there to buy the kit, did you not realize, like, it's on my home? Like, how did you not see that we make printers? Like, so it's funny to get those guys too. You know, it's like they just go, they follow the link because it's on Facebook and someone else bought it, and they're like, oh, I'm buying that, and then they don't even browse through the company. So I think first impression is very important as far as website imaging goes. And obviously, you know, because you're a website developer. So
yeah, I think my website sucks, but people keep complimenting me on it. I don't know what it is, but
I think, I mean, you have a brand in your own though. That's what's key. You know, that's where I think we lack is branding. And, you know, our logo is simple. It's just text. I mean, it's, you know, so I'm constantly battling with, you know, what should I do there? Should I hire somebody to come in and do branding for me, or should I spend late nights branding myself? But I think, you know,
my only comment about your logo is, to me, it looks like it's sewn rather than printed.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So I struggle with that all the time, you know, and that's the hardest part. And the worst part is I can't print my logo. There's no way to, like, I mean, I can go in and draw something, but it's like it's not as cool as, you know, there's not brand there. It's just 3D fused. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, I'm struggling with that a little bit, but I think that.
And even though 3D fused, I know you're talking about fused as in being bonded.
Yeah.
But I think you could do something cool with your logo if you turned it into like a stick of dynamite or something and play off the fused
That's smart.
from a
You could play off of fusion. You could play off of like atomic fusion.
Right.
Like
yeah.
have like a nuclear reactor there or something.
So, and I don't know if anybody's ever done any research on Kratos, but this was one of the things that bothered me right from the beginning. Well, not really right from the beginning, probably 2-3 months into it, after we started getting popular online. Someone messaged me and said, "Do you know that the creator there's a beauty salon? So, like, if you Google Kratos, it's a beauty salon. Like, we totally failed."
To me, it sounds like the name of a Greek god.
Yeah, and that's what it actually was, a combination of. So I don't know. I could go back in and find all the specifics on it, but there's like two, and we combined them, and then also used the word create was kind of the idea of it. So that's kind of what it came from.
You're right. So Brian Vines wants to know what both of your favorite pizza topping is.
I'm a ham and bacon kind of guy.
Yeah, pepperoni or bacon, really meat in general. Just the thing is it's got to be the right amount of meat. It's not really which meat. You can't have too much and then it gets soaked into the pizza. Like it's got to be balanced. I love pizza in general, I guess, is really what it comes down to.
I'm a supreme stuffed crust guy, or
I'm not a veggie pizza kind of guy. I do not like veggies on my pizza, to be honest.
I think this one's for Wolfworks. Sean wants you to sell the Olsen Ruby nozzle tool.
Yeah, I saw that, and the only thing is that apparently nobody has that either.
No, nobody does.
So it's
and I believe it's like a ratchet system, right? It's got a torque thing, so you can't over torque your nozzle.
Well, you can make one when you're installing it. You're not. It's more just so you don't damage it as you're putting it in, and you can really use any nozzle with that. You're just applying a certain amount of torque onto your nozzle. It's like a printed little tool that they made. But the Olsen Ruby nozzle, I have enjoyed using, and I have had some issues with, but I don't know if it was the machine I was using or the nozzle. So
3D Matter, sorry. 3D Matter Maker is not sure if you already left, but thank you for popping in and saying hey. Let's see. Trying to catch up. Will the CR10S kits work with the Pro?
No. Unfortunately. I have a kit designed for the Pro, but it's one of those things. I have a feeling I'm going to have a lot of problems when I launch it. Because there was like 3 revisions to the Pro that... See, the worst part is like the public, I mean, not necessarily public because we're all public, right, to the Creality game. They see the printer and they see all the renderings and they get it, but they don't see all the differences that actually come when they manufacture these, and that's the hardest part. Like the Ender, I think, came with like 7 different build surfaces as time went on, and then you throw the clone companies in there that sell on Amazon, and I'm dealing with an issue right now where someone bought my kits and we send M5x50 bolts with it because that's the standard bolt that's used on the Ender kits, and someone he bought a clone and it has standard bolts on it, so it obviously, I don't know where it was cloned from, but I don't think there's any manufacturers of the Enders that use standard bolts, so I was confused by that. So yeah, I'm
some guy in his basement selling them on Amazon.
Right. He's buying all this screws, building it. Yeah, I believe it.
Chris Freeze thinks you should do rail kits for the OG Prusa.
Yeah, so
Brian Vines backs him up on that.
I don't know how much I can really say about this, but I'm going to tell you guys because I am working with the Bear Upgrade to be a part of their team in the development of their rail kit. So
awesome.
Yeah, so that's it's going to be a big thing. He's writing up a little summary, as in, this is what we're going to do. I'm not going to. I'll probably start carrying a Bear kit, with my linear rail kit on it, but I'm not going to call it my linear rail kit or the 3D Fuse linear rail kit. It's going to be the Bear linear rail kit.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's a big deal. I have no profit involvement on it. It's just other than just helping the community out, helping the Bear build per se.
I know everywhere
mean, I don't know how he pronounces his name, but I would call him Gregory just because it's easy. But yeah, so he's a great guy, and I've given him a lot of advice, and he's given me a lot of advice. So
Yeah, everywhere I turn nowadays, the Bear upgrades definitely seems to
it's
be the in
huge.
thing right
It's
now.
huge for sure. I mean, he's very strict on how he wants to go about his business because he's the designer, and then he has his distributors, obviously, and he makes money off of the sales of the distributors. So, I mean, it's very, very sleek on how he's doing it. So a big thing that is kind of partnered. So I have a special process that I use to re-qualify linear rail blocks and make them work if they don't work, if that makes sense. I do testing, load testing on them before I actually send them out or put them on my kits.
Which was surprising to me, that one guy that said his wasn't working.
Yeah. So I actually, I took care of that as best I could. And I can be completely honest, that was the launch of the Y kit. And I had probably like people that never even worked for me before coming in and helping out. So, I mean, that could be just a miss. Someone might have grabbed it out of a pile.
Missed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I've tried my best to control that the best I can. But, when crap hits the fan, it's hard to scramble.
I'll be the first person to tell you I screw up all the time when I'm assembling stuff.
Yeah, and that's, I even explained to the guy.
My UFOs and such.
I told him, I said, I have no problem. I sent him a brand new rail. I even sent him a tube of rail oil just for the issues, like, hey, here you go. Yeah. So for me, the support and how you can handle the situation is very important, especially like that, and I hope I didn't lose a customer from him because I actually do think he came back and bought something else, but I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, awesome.
But yeah,
so you instead of me. No,
I don't.
No, it's customer service is always like I get, and you can ask some of the people who know me closest on here. When I screw up, and for months I was late on the UFOs for certain reasons, and when I screw up, it hurts me. And customer service is my number one thing I try to keep at the top of my priorities every month. And
when it doesn't happen, you're a sad alien.
No, I've teared up on streams because I felt so bad about being late last month or something like that. And so customer service has always been my top thing. So if you don't take care of your customers aren't going to take care of you, and they are the backbone of your business always.
Yeah, and it's crazy how fast a negative word spreads faster than a positive word. Like, I have so many printers out on the market, but I don't ever see posts about them, or it's crazy to me. It almost hurts because it's like, man, this printer, why wouldn't you brag about it? But it's like, it's crazy how dark some people are, as far as.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, when something is great, nobody says anything about it because it's sitting on the thing. It works.
Yeah, I get it, and then as soon as something wrong happens, it's boom. Here's this and here's this. It's like,
this is the worst thing imaginable.
Yeah. I try to tackle those as quick as possible, and I appreciate. I think even Brian was like, hey, you might want to handle this comment, because I think the guy actually commented on his YouTube.
He did. Yeah.
So I went on there and I responded to him. And yeah, I take it very, very personal, but I know it's a mistake, and I'm gonna own it. I mean, that's the main.
Well, no, it's like he contacted me, I instantly contacted you, and you instantly contacted him. So I mean, it's not like anybody dropped the ball.
But that's the crazy part to me is like, all this stuff happens and it goes through all that, and it's like, wow, this is crazy, But yeah, I mean, definitely worth, the video he sent. I mean, it was 100% that rail was not performing like it should have been. I mean, bottom line. But yeah, so anyways, back to that whole story and where that all started from is, so we have a specific process in house that we do to make sure the rails are in good shape, and I've shared that information with some companies, and then the Bear upgrade is, basically kind of going to be utilizing that process, and they're going to actually be purchasing. So some of you may know, but a lot of you might not. LDO is a big supplier of mine for motors and other stuff, and they're going to be actually doing linear rails. So they're going to take over the process that I use in-house at their factory in China to make sure the linear rails are perfect and have my logo and everything on them, and then send them to me. So I currently buy from Ziltech, which nothing wrong with them, but I do have a fallout rate with them. Obviously when I go through and I have to rebuild their blocks, it costs time, and I don't know exactly where they get them from, but I've tried multiple suppliers through China for linear rails, and I'm very picky about how they perform and what they need to do. And
Well, you have to be.
you have to
putting
be.
it on your name, so
Absolutely. And I mean, it all goes back to maintenance too. I mean, when you pull them out of the box and they don't roll right, immediately your thought is that this is a junk rail, but there is things that we do to make them work and work right before that we just say that they're junk. Because a lot of times it's, they put a rust inhibitor on them so that way they don't rust. And that rust is not oil. I mean, it's not meant to make it so it rolls good. It's very, and sometimes they'll squirt little, like a bead of silicone in there. And then that's supposed to coat. And then if that silicone dries up and gets hard, that'll get jammed in the path that the bearings ride. So then that'll actually cause issues with it moving.
right.
And then sometimes, I mean, even if you take the blocks apart and you inspect them with like a microscope, you'll see that there's a lot of machine marks or there's dust and debris inside of those. And we'll re-ream them out. And we have a solution that we use to clean them out. So it's very important that it works. I mean, that's
so. What would you recommend as the best oil or solution for somebody who's good?
It's a loaded question.
The oil that he sells.
Yeah, so exactly. I actually was the hugest. I don't like to.
I haven't been looking at your website.
So the biggest. I was the biggest fan of liquid bearings. I was sad to have to say goodbye to them. But no, so I actually just started developing the synthetic based lubricant that we use with injected PTFE, and that works really, really good. Another good lubricant that you can buy off the shelf at any hardware store is Super Lube. It works extremely good. And liquid bearings is a good lubricant. It's phenomenal. But unfortunately, some fallouts I had with the company, and I don't want to put into it. So I don't sell that anymore or support it.
Cody, Brian says that you would be the most amazing person in the world if you dropped your magic oil into the
Hey, that was already planned with the t-shirt
with
as well,
his kid.
Don't worry, buddy. It's coming.
Michael Cassell wants to know what you think about 3-in-1 gun oil.
It works, but it's really, really gummy on the seals. The biggest thing is you have to have the gun oil, depending upon if it's synthetic or non-synthetic. The rubber in those seals is the biggest conflict. It breaks down and then it gets brittle, and then that brittleness causes drag on the rails.
Gotcha. I know it's getting close to time, so I don't know if you guys want to cut out. I'll just do a couple more questions that people have already posted, and then we can end this. Greg wants to. He's wondering why there aren't more Cartesian XY printers. I'm guessing like Core XY. Why did you do the dual Z with the frame versus a Core XY?
So the biggest reason, mainly for probably selfishness, because I had a CR10 and I was so used to the ease of changing and modifying and making anything. But so the Railcore is a great printer. I think that what they've done with that, it's kind of unbeatable in the aspect. So I didn't want to remake something that was already done and done right and done well.
Right.
But here goes the next part is I'm actually going to be coming out with a Core XY printer. So, but the difference between mine and the Railcore is going to be it's going to be actually a heat chamber. So 100% up to 150 degrees Celsius, heated like an oven, basically. So so you can print PEEK and polycarbonates and stuff like that. So that's the biggest reason I didn't create a Core XY was because it was done right. And the reason why I created a Cartesian is because I like the design. It's simple, and you can print really good with it. A lot of people say you get print wobble and you get artifacting at the top of the prints because it wants to wobble back and forth.
Yeah, but yours is solid.
Yeah,
I mean, solid.
Yeah, that's the big thing. The frame is the biggest. So a lot of people that have that issue don't really look at they're looking at the print wobbling, not the actual frame wobbling. And the frame actually on the CR10 wobbles quite a bit, and the frame stiffeners that we sell work extremely well to help prevent that. But one way to get around print wobble is to the supports and how you, not necessarily the supports, but the infill patterns and how you change your infill patterns to make it so that way they don't want to wobble. I mean, it's structural. I mean, you want to make sure that if you have an issue at the top, you print with triangles, or you do something like the the gyroid, or however you pronounce it, gyroid, or
Gyroid is how I do it.
gyroid infill patterns will help out, perfecting the print level in the end. Now, the disadvantages to a Core XY is, you have belt stretch. There's more issues with alignment of your carriage that rides on the top. Every printer has its pros and cons. I think that there's a good way to look at it from that aspect.
All right, I'm trying to catch up on chat.
Yeah, they're going nuts. So I don't know if you're going to be able to end this thing. You said you were here until 2:00 in the morning, right? Like last night?
Hey, I literally, like, this is my only scheduled show. Every other night, my girlfriend's at work and she's bored out of her mind. So she's like, will you stream for me, babe? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And then I start streaming usually at about 7. She goes to bed at 10 or 11. And then there's people still wanting to chat. So I end up staying up till 2:00 every day, chatting to people on YouTube. But I mean, I love doing it. I mean, I'm interacting with my community, So.
Right. That's the key. Yeah, I don't mind it. I think it's actually pretty cool, being that this is my first time on it. I'm a little nervous at first. But it was
I tried to warn you. I mean, I'm not a professional talk show host. I'm not going to sit here with a million
the questions help
prepared.
For sure. Because I mean, I feel like just awkwardly sitting here.
Yeah,
just staring.
No, it's I didn't have any prepared questions, and it's just an informal little get-together, hangout type thing with people who are actually companies in the community versus community members.
Right.
Which every other day that I stream, I usually have 1 or 2 community members pop in. So,
gotcha.
It's been awesome. But I don't think I see any more questions coming in, just people chatting. So it is a little after 2. And I have not eaten yet today, so I am going to actually end this yet. Cody, thank you so much for taking the time to come here, and I can't wait to see you at ERF.
For sure. You as well.
Chance, I love your filament, and I'm glad to get you in. Spoiler alert, this next month again in September. So thank you so much for spending time tonight with me.
I'll try and make it to ERF too. So
you better. That's all I gotta say.
Apparently, I have been commanded to.
You are commanded. So try to get fiberology to. I always want to say fiberology. Everybody does. I know it, but try to get them to sponsor some of the cost on that for you.
Yeah, and the thing is it's not that bad to go to these things. They aren't huge events that take thousands of dollars to invest.
Well, it depends on if you're bringing a 12-foot alien, have to rent a trailer to bring it with you.
Yeah, that's different. One machine, yeah.
Right, but
12-foot alien might be a little bit more difficult too. You're right. But
yeah, but
no, I'm looking to hit the circuit a little bit more as far as
just show up with a t-shirt, walk around and talk to people. Really, hand out some samples. You don't need to pay to be there to be for that. Do that.
It's great meeting all the people that I watch on YouTube.
Exactly. So I will warn you, and I will not name names, but there are some people that are YouTube personality versus real personality, and they're jackasses in real life. But I will tell you, Joel Telling is an amazing guy.
Exactly who I was about to say, because I met him when I was in Canada for the Mosaic manufacturing line.
Yeah, Joel Telling is amazing.
Good dude. Good chatting with him.
Yeah, Carl's the biggest jerk I've ever met in real life. Mac 3D, but hey, by the way, everybody, I don't know how many people are watching, 23 people. Carl, Knack 3D, he's looking for some funding to finish the Squire before ERF, so go look him up on Twitter, get his link, shoot him $1, $20, whatever you can to try to help him get his Squire done.
As he screams, stop talking about me in chat.
No, I love Carl. He's a good dude. So again, if you guys want to stick around just for a minute, I'll do my closing, and then we can chat off of stream. But again, thank you guys so much for coming and being my guests, and thank you everybody who came to watch us. As always, be a better human, 3D print the world. Peace out.